for Jonathan Taylor. There he goes again. 50, 40, down the far sideline. He might do it again. 10, 5, touchdown. INT.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome in to a Wednesday edition of the Fan Morning Show. Still victory week. We're going to enjoy this for another 10 days or so as the Indianapolis Colts still have the best record in the NFL at 8-2 and fresh off the plane from Berlin, Germany, the one, the only, James Boyd of The Athletic and 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. How much German did you learn when you were over there? What can you do, like basic phrases? Can you order coffee? What can you do?
No, I don't drink coffee, and no, I can't say any phrases. They had a lot of English signs out there for your boy, and that's what I stuck to make sure I didn't get lost.
Oh, McDonald's is this way. Here I go.
I will say, I did not cave and get McDonald's or they had a KFC out there. But the last night, I walked from my hotel to another hotel to get some fried chicken wings, and they were amazing. So I had to find something that was good for my stomach. German food, I tried a lot of it, and like I said when I left the first time, there's only so many things I'm willing to try before I got to find something else to soothe the soul.
Well, at least you tried. I like that. Was there anything German food related that you really liked? Like, man, this is good. I could get down with this.
I forget what it's called. I think it's DONER.
Yeah.
A doner kebab. There we go.
There you go.
I guess it's like a Turkish dish. But like they have some of that culture in Germany. So I had one of those, grabbed one from like a little place and was walking around eating it. And so I didn't want to miss anything. So it was a good trip. Hard getting out there, but I think I made up for it by staying an extra day.
What was the best sightseeing thing you saw?
Honestly,
did you go to the Berlin Wall or anything?
I did go to the Berlin Wall. The Berlin Wall was cool but sad, honestly, just because of all the history related to it. The coolest part was seeing the parts they repainted with all these messages about unity and peace and love. But they also have, so many memorials for people that died at the Berlin Wall or, just because of the Holocaust, things that happened during that time as well. And so it's a good perspective to gain being out there because you're reminded, it's in your face, just how different the world was, 80 years ago. So that was, a unique experience. And then I would say one of the coolest places I went, I had a chance to visit a couple museums. So that was cool. And honestly, again, just learning all about how the world looked and how they kind of survived those times on a boat cruise as well, like through the city. So they showed us all the different buildings. And the guy who was doing the tour was speaking in English and in German. He would switch back and forth. I thought that was really cool. And honestly, I'm like, wow, this guy must be really smart because he speaks English probably better than me. And then he speaks German, obviously a lot better than me. So it was a good time.
All right. One other question before I get to the real good questions here. Did you remember your electricity adapter, your little plug-in adapter?
Yeah. And shout out to me. Yeah, shout out to me because without me, Joey Erickson might not have filed his story for Indy Star. He got to the game and he was like, yo, I forgot my adapter. I said, I got you, my boy. Come on, little bro. I got you. But no, it was good to obviously help him out and then try to make sure that we remember all the things we needed because, those plugins are a little bit different over there.
Yep. All right. Now, here's my real question. Could you feel the sense of history when you got into the stadium, knowing that all those years ago, gosh, it would have been almost 90 years ago now, that Jesse Owens did his thing at the 36 Berlin Olympic Games in front of, everybody that we know now that I'm just not even going to talk about. But yeah, what was it like? Could you feel that? Could you sense it? Did they have any kind of homage to those games? What was going on there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a question here for one of the guys. How were the ladies? Beautiful women all across the world, But as far as the more serious topics, they had like a concrete slab on the side of one of the walls inside the, I don't even know how to pronounce it. I think it's like Olympa. How you say it? Olympodastion or something like that. But anyways, inside the venue, they have basically a wall for all the past victors of the Olympic Games that were there. And so you saw Jesse Owens' name on there for the 4 gold medals he won in 1936 during the height of Nazi Germany and during the height of Hitler's power. So that was really cool to see and something that I don't take for granted as a young black man in my career. And you think about all the opportunities I have now, those were not existent back then. So that was something that really resonated. And I made sure to take a picture of that and send it back to my family and tell them, like, hey, here's where I'm at.
Hey, you got to send me that picture too. I want to see that one, man. That's cool.
Yes, sir.
I like that. All right, so then the game starts. And at some point in time, Jonathan Taylor just takes over. And I know that everybody here has been concerned with the offensive line in terms of pass protection and what Daniel Jones has been doing with protecting the football. But we got to give that offensive line some credit. I mean, JT, the long touchdown run was pretty much him. He bounces it out after getting nothing in the middle. But overall, was that all just JT taking over, or were there some pretty good moments for the offensive line?
I thought there were some good moments, and I thought there were some bad moments, if I'm being honest. You know, the run blocking is not something we can really nitpick at. Anytime a guy goes for, 244, and he probably should have had 246, 247. If you remember that, I think it was a second or third down run in the first quarter where they marked him very short. We were all in the stadium, and I'm sure the folks back home were watching the broadcast like, what the heck happened? And Shane basically told us that he believes the refs looked at the knee of Tanner Bortolini rather than JT's. So his historic day, 244, probably should have been about 246, 247. So the run blocking was great. Pass blocking, not so great. To have Daniel Jones running for his life throughout that game. 7 sacks, most he's taken this season. 12 sacks over the last 2 games, as you all pointed out earlier this week. That will not cut it as far as trying to get the best version of Daniel Jones, because I do think he's getting a little bit more jittery in the pocket. Held onto the ball a couple times too long, but I can't, again, put that all on him. So I do think that the narrative is going to be coming out of the bye week going into Kansas City is what kind of version of Daniel Jones will you get? Did the bye week help you clean up some of that stuff, or are some of those old habits reforming where he doesn't trust his offensive line fully, and because of that, the turnovers are going to creep up?
Well, the one thing is they got out of Berlin with a win. They are 8-2. They got a victory over the Falcons. They still have the best record, tied for the best record in the AFC, but because they have a better record than either New England or Denver within the AFC, they're still the number 1 seed. So going into the second half of the season, I still don't think, I know that people are still really worried, and they should be, about after the Pittsburgh game and the way Daniel Jones didn't really protect the ball much better against Atlanta. I get all that. But you can't, this team, you have to give them an A- for the first half of the season, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, being 8-2, first in the league, not only the conference or the division, that deserves an A rating. But I'm greedy. I'm looking at all the little flaws that could come back to bite you. One of them being the offensive line as of late. One of them being your kicker being short on a 53-yard kick. I mean, you can miss, but I mean, he was very, very short. That was a little bit alarming. Like, man, if you get in that situation again, can you even trust he's going to get the ball there? Missed an extra point. Now, granted, he's had a pretty good year overall. I think he's only missed 1 field goal attempt, and then he's only missed like 2 extra points. So it's not super crazy, but it is something to kind of creep into the back of my mind a little bit. So, yeah, I would say the vibes are still much higher for the Colts than it is for the Pacers, who lost again last night.
What do you think of our new addition in the secondary, playing on just a couple of days practice? What were your thoughts there on Sauce Gardner?
I thought it was very good until the 2-point conversion where he got cooked by Drake London. And I know people were all in my mentions on Twitter like, oh, my gosh, I see what you're doing. You're already picking against the new guy. It's like, no, he would tell you. I got worked over in that rep. And I hate when people tell me something that's like obvious. Oh, he slipped down. Oh, he got tripped. Oh, this. And we don't care. If you're an opponent, if this happened in reverse, you would not give 2 bleeps about what happened to the Falcons defender if it were Alec Pierce or Josh Downs catching a touchdown pass. So why would I ever feel any differently in that 2-point conversion? But other than that, I thought it was outstanding. And I think it's going to add to the excitement they've had with this group because, in my opinion, if you get Mooney Ward back in there, you're going to have a really elite secondary. He actually made the trip to Germany as well, as I mentioned, I believe, when I joined you all on Monday. So that's a guy who is excited to get back out there, seems eager to get back out there. So maybe he returns in Week 12 at Kansas City.
Well, I thought it was a nice debut for a guy. Again, this is a guy that literally had about a day and a half of practice, jump on a plane, go to Berlin, start, play. I know there's one play he'd like back, probably like a chance to get that interception back again. And I know people talk about the 2-point conversion. And yes, people were complaining about the 2-point failing. But I also saw a really nice clip somebody put together of a lot of plays he had in coverage where he was just blanketing whoever he was covering, man. There were a lot of plays like that.
He's a special player.
So that was a lot of fun. So that's what's going on. James is back from Berlin. Mark is back on the other side of the console today. You missed it. Mark made his bid for your job over the last couple of days. And
Caleb went for mine,
Caleb
too.
went for his.
I was about to say, Friday show was rocking
grab.
and roll. I got a lot of great reviews before I left town, Mark, about how great you were. So this didn't happen when I was missing.
Yeah.
Okay, I threw the alley-oop. He came in with the slam dunk, and after that, hey, if you get a win by yourself, Mark, more power to you, brother.
There's someone conveniently still missing, so I think if anyone's job is, on the rocks here.
I'll stay out of that
Daddy Duty Bowen.
You hear all those live endorsements he does every day? Yeah, he's not going anywhere right now.
Well, everybody's replaceable.
Yeah, right. All right. Coming up in a moment, we will talk a little bit more about the Pacers and TJ McConnell back last night. Did it help? What did it help? Did it help anything? It helped me go to bed after the third quarter, I'll tell you that. We'll talk about it next. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Happy Wednesday morning. It's hump day. James Boyd is back from Berlin. Kevin Bowen, another day off for paternity leave, helping his wife who's on maternity leave. You missed the birth of Nellie while you were gone, man. How about that?
Shout out to Nellie.
All right. Shout out to, TJ McConnell. He came back last night. It didn't help much for the Pacers. TJ, after missing mostly the first month with a hamstring injury, did play 11 minutes last night against the Utah Jazz, scored 12 points, but the Pacers just got behind the 8 ball after the early minutes of the second quarter and never recovered. 152-128. Utah gets the win. Lauri Markkanen led with 35 points. But, James, they gave up 152 points.
Yeah, I mean, they're one of the worst teams in the league right now. That's just the reality of the situation, and boy, do things feel so different than they did a few months ago.
Not only did they give up 152 points, but they've only got one win this year. They are 1-10 winless on the road. Utah scored the fourth most points in franchise history last night. Pacers were led by Pascal Siakam with 27 and Andrew Nembhard with 25, and everybody was a little fired up because it was a more workable starting five last night than we saw the last couple of games, but still nothing great. Still nothing great.
No, I believe that is the sixth time that they've given up 150 points in regulation in seventh time overall in team history. So we know the Pacers have been around for quite a while, and we're giving up points like that. It is very hard to win, and they weren't even close to winning last night.
No, they weren't, and they actually got out to a 20-10 lead at one point in time, and then that was the end of it. It was over, and it was over quickly. So they have now lost 5 games in a row, and they will play again at Phoenix to finish up a 4-game road trip. That'll be tomorrow night, 9 p.m. tip-off, 8:30 airtime here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. And in case you're wondering, this was the starting five for last night's game, and I know you were wondering about this, James. Isaiah Jackson started at center, Jarris Walker, Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, Tony Bradley, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith. I'm sorry, Walker did not make the start. But other than that was your starting five last night.
Yeah, not what you probably signed up for coming into the season, but they're fighting, they're scratching their claw, and we know they won't lay down. It's just a lot of times I believe they're at a talent disparity, and it doesn't matter who you're facing in the NBA. If you don't have legitimate NBA rotation players playing big minutes for you, and no disrespect to the guys that they've had out there fighting, it's hard to win games. And you see what star power gets you in this league. And last night, the star of the game had to be Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah, he was definitely shooting. Also, they got a little help from their rookie, too. Ace Bailey last night was on fire from three-point range for a while. He finished 4 of 8, 7 of 13 from the field overall.
They shot way better from three than they ever do,
Yeah, 20 points. Yeah, I think Rick said afterwards that he was a little disappointed in the defense allowing 152 points. But that's where you're at.
He should say that.
All right, they are 1-10. Better news closer to home here up at Hinkle Fieldhouse. It was Butler, a 98-66 victory over Chicago State. Finley Bizjack had 22 points, 18 of them in the first half, 6 assists. And how about Michael Ajayi? He had 10 points and 11 rebounds for the Bulldogs. They will play again later this week against Texas. Also, Milwaukee at Indiana tonight. That one starts at 7 p.m. Early returns, pretty nice so far for Coach DeVries and what the Hoosiers have going on there. They've looked okay.
Yeah, this is my first time, I think, having a chance to sit down and really watch them. So I'm excited to check that out. I've seen bits and pieces of their offense. And honestly, when they do like the the scrimmages and things like that, I'm not too locked in when it comes to those matchups just because I feel like they're not on the same level of competition. But this one should be a good one for sure.
Yeah, you just didn't know what to expect with so many new guys and a new system and a new coach and everything else. It almost feels like it is really a completely brand new team from what we've had down there. So
knocked off Marquette. So
we'll see what happens in Bloomington later on tonight. Tomorrow, of course, second-ranked Purdue will take on Alabama, a battle of two top 10 teams. And this is a great test for Purdue. They had that early exhibition game where they lost to Kentucky, and they are the second-ranked team in the country now, and they'll get a big test right out of the gate here.
Yeah, this is going to be a huge game, and I respect Matt Painter for always scheduling these kind of matchups throughout the season. And the hope there is that not only do you win, but even if you don't, it prepares you for what you might see later on when you have to make that push in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. As far as college football is concerned, the second college football playoff rankings came out yesterday. Indiana maintains their spot at number 2, and people are starting to get upset that A&M is not number 2, that they're number 3. We were listening to Chris Canty on ESPN radio earlier this morning. Everybody thinks Ohio State should be number 1, whatever, but they're making the case that A&M has just blown out everybody that's been in their way. But I don't know, man. Indiana, the 2 times that they have been pushed on the road, they found a way with a little bit of magic late in the game to come up with victories, first at Iowa and then, of course, this past weekend when they put it together against Penn State. Yeah,
I mean, people are always going to complain about where their team or their conference should be ranked, but the bottom line is as long as the Hoosiers don't lose, they have a great chance of being in a great spot going into the college football playoff. And I think they kind of needed the matchup that they had last week. They hadn't really had like the gutsy, chin check at the end of the game sort of moment, and they showed up again. So I think that kind of shows you how great of a team they are, because in sports, you're not going to blow out every single team most of the time. I mean, not every team can be like the LSU Tigers with Joe Burrow and, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. But nevertheless, a win is a win, and they found a way to do that in a variety of ways this year, which is a lot different than we've ever talked about IU football.
One of the things I like in 3 road games that they have had adversity, right? There was a tough game at Iowa City. It's always tough to play there. I don't know why, but it is. But they found a way to get it done at the end. They had the pick 6 against Oregon, and they just got right up off the mat and dominated the game after that. Then they go to Penn State. They fall behind in the 4th quarter. They get the ball back with time running down, just a couple of minutes to go. They march 80 yards, the length of the field. They score the touchdown. Amazing catch. And I know you were around. Did you get to see highlights of that catch over there in Berlin?
Yeah, I pulled it up on my phone like I told you guys.
Man.
So I was locked in.
All right. So, yeah, I like the fact that every time they faced adversity on the road, they have found a way to get off the mat and get it done. So we'll find out what happens as they move forward here, but they are still second in the latest college football playoff rankings. Also, the Colts continue to rest and get healthy. They're on a bye at 8-2. They have the top record in the AFC. Jonathan Taylor leading the league in yards rushing at 1,139. Put this into perspective. Through this 10 games, he's 219 yards ahead over the second-place James Cook and 351 yards ahead of Rico Dowdle, who's in 3rd in terms of rushing yards in the NFL. I mean, he is tearing it up, James Boyd.
Yeah, he's the best player in the world. If you go pound for pound, position for position, there has not been anybody better than Jonathan Taylor. I do think when it comes to the MVP conversation, the one quarterback that is starting to creep up a lot in the conversation to me is probably Matthew Stafford. I think he's got 21 touchdown passes and 2 picks, and they're rolling right now out there in L.A. So I'm thinking of his career, and he's an older guy and been a great player, big resume, probably a future Hall of Famer. Would that help him in those conversations down the stretch if these two are neck and neck? But nevertheless, JT is making a strong push to say, hey, whatever position I play, I deserve this award. And it's hard to argue with him. You look at all the numbers, and the line I wrote my story was that he's probably the best running back the Colts have ever had. And that is saying a lot when you think of the names that they have had in this building when it comes to Edgerrin James, Eric Dickerson, Lenny Moore. Marshall Faulk played here as well, I believe.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
So, yeah, and I get that some of them weren't like at the peak of their powers for, all of their career here, but still, the resume speaks for itself. I mean, the guy is very special. 3rd 200-yard rushing game I believe he had over there in Berlin, which is more than every other Colts player combined ever. So
here's how good he was on Sunday.
Drake May, I'm sorry. Yes, he is the MVP favorite now.
People like, and those sports writers too, they like their shiny new objects, and he is definitely that, and he's right there with them. But I was going to say, if you take away the 83-yard touchdown run, he still had 161 yards rushing.
He's a special dude, man. They don't make him like JT.
No, they don't. All right, there was one big note outside of our area that we were kind of having fun at his expense yesterday, but I don't know if he was listening to the show, Mark. I don't know if the Mavericks owners were listening to the show, but not long after we got off the air and we were kind of goofing on Nico Harrison, he got fired in Dallas.
I mean, why wouldn't they have been listening? Powerhouse of the mid-market, so they should definitely been listening.
They're listening to Mark Dykton is what they were listening to.
Nico Harrison, boy, he didn't do himself any favors out in Dallas. Not only did you launch Nico to L.A., or Luka to L.A., but you, Cooper Flagg, you got the draft pick, but fan base still not too happy, so Mavericks like, I think this is a bit of a PR nightmare.
You were probably in Berlin, but the night before, obviously, Dallas played a couple of games, but the night before last, even though the Mavericks won and their number 1 overall pick, Cooper Flagg, had 26 points, the entire fourth quarter, the crowd was just chanting, "Fire Nico."
Yeah, I mean, they've been doing that for months now.
But it's never stopped.
No, and he got fired, so they got their wish.
All right.
Are you saying boo or boo earns?
Yeah, I would
I
say
was saying boo earns.
in bigger news related to the Colts in our market, Travis Hunter out for the year due to surgery on his LCL. Honestly, I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't even know that was a ligament in your knee, but he will not be playing for the rest of the year, and
a lateral
that is
ligament.
something to keep in mind considering the Colts still have 2 matchups against the Jaguars this year.
Yeah, so we'll find out how that affects them because I don't know. I thought he was really starting to come on. I think he was ready to have that. A lot of wide receivers the last 5-6 games of their rookie year, the good ones really start to kind of find themselves. And it looked like the last 2 games that he had played, he was starting to find himself a little bit. So feel bad for him, but maybe that's a break for the Colts moving forward. Anything else you guys want to throw in? Any other tidbits from Berlin you want to drop?
Nope, that is all I had.
All right, coming up in a moment, we will talk a little bit more about the Colts and what they are facing in the second half of the season. The Pacers continue to struggle last night, and they're already starting to talk, Mark, about lottery. We'll speak about it next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Well, the good thing is, James, you missed the really cold weather and the snow while you were gone. It's going to be a little bit nicer today, so you got that working in your favor. But what was the November weather like over in Berlin?
It wasn't too bad to me. I want to say it was about 48 to maybe 55, like 55 during the day, maybe 40, high 40s at night. But I was walking a lot. Somebody was always moving. Got a lot of steps in Berlin. So, yeah, I had no complaints about the weather at all. I saw the weather back here, and I was definitely glad to get an extra day out there.
All right, let's talk about the Colts and what we've seen in the first half of the season. Look at it collectively. They were a steamrolling offense up until the Pittsburgh game, and obviously they got stonewalled by that defensive front. They lost that game. They had some problems, and Daniel Jones the last couple of games now had some problems holding on to the football. Where's this offense at as they get ready to start the second half of the season a week from Sunday in Kansas City?
Where do you think it is? Because I feel like I'm confident in their ability to score, because even like a bad game, kind of, with the Falcons until the very end with the walk-off JT touchdown, you end up with 31 points on the scoreboard. So I feel like they can roll out of bed and probably get you about 27 to 30. But like I said, man, that offensive line, I don't know if I feel the way Shane Steichen feels when he said he doesn't think it's like a big – he was asked his level of concern about the offensive line. And he said there's not a high level of concern. Me, there is, because I just think that that's the one thing that could rattle Daniel Jones in this version we've seen of him is this fear that he's going to get hit. And so we've seen some of the old ways start to pop back up over the last couple of games. Now, I don't want to completely dismiss what we're witnessing from him because I thought he was very gritty, very tough at the end of that game against the Falcons, had the bloody mouth, and he's probably going to be a meme because of that because it looked like lipstick the way the guy was trying to, get himself together. But he showed up when it mattered the most. It's just that you don't want to continue to put your quarterback in those positions to have to be clutch or, kind of superhuman late to mitigate some of the other things that are perhaps, I think bigger red flags for you. So that to me is probably what stands out, Jeff. But, what do you think as far as the offense goes right now?
I think they're going to see a lot more stacked boxes right now. They're going to force Daniel Jones to kind of prove himself all over again, like he did the first 5, 6, 7 weeks of the season. They're going to come into this game, other opposing defenses, knowing that Jonathan Taylor is the guy that can really kill you at any moment in time. So you're going to have to really account for him. They still have a tremendous group of wide receivers. I mean, Alec Pierce continues to come up with big catches. The tough catch when you need it, always there for Michael Pittman Jr. Josh Downs gets his moments there. And Tyler Warren, I thought, had a nice game in Berlin. And he was another big reason that they found success. I worry a little bit. I said this yesterday. I don't think you make a change. I don't think you bring in guys for tryouts yet. But I'm starting to get a little concerned in an era and an age and a year specifically in which we're seeing routinely 60, 63-yard, 70-yard, 68-yard attempts where kickers are making those. I'm a little bit worried that you have a guy now, doesn't have a ton of experience, that's missed a couple of extra points, and now can't get it done from 54 yards out, which seems to be, hey, look, I get it if you miss it left or right, but you've got to be able to get it there at this point in time. Those are the concerns I have. What's this defense going to look like in the second half of the year? I'm not worried about the secondary. That looks good. I thought Zaire Franklin had a nice performance for the most part. He certainly had a big play or two against Atlanta, and I still worry about can you put pressure on the opposing team. And they're going to get the full gamut because Kansas City is operating on just about full cylinder right now. You got Patrick Mahomes. He's got Rashee Rice. Travis Kelce is still getting things done. They don't have the greatest running game, but their offensive line has been terrific. And people don't realize this. Kansas City might have one of the top 3 defenses in the NFL.
They might, for sure. I think this is going to be a test. And like I said in my story after the game, you feel a lot better going into the bye with the bounce-back win, no matter how it looked, versus being on a 2-game losing streak going into Kansas City. So I think you give yourself a bit of a cushion there. You're not going into that game obviously thinking you're going to lose, but it's a big matchup, and it's one that I don't think you can necessarily pencil in as a W on paper. You got to show up and actually take it to the defending 3-time AFC champions. But the other thing I wanted to point out, which I think is not like an underlying issue, so to speak, but Alec Pierce. Mark, how much you paying that guy? Because I feel like as much as we've talked about Daniel Jones and everybody else, every game I just see the checkbook, get another zero added to him.
Yeah, a little more guaranteed money for Mr.
A.D. Mitchell
Pierce.
not here as insurance for you? I mean, who is better right now as far as financially are increasing their worth than Alec Pierce?
He's your deep threat. He's pretty reliable. Yeah, I mean, they have some financial decisions to make on this roster in the offseason.
I was talking to a former general manager I talk to every once in a while about a week ago, and he's starting to raise the eyebrows of people within the NFL. And this person actually said, look, he's not Justin Jefferson, he's not Jamar Chase, but this guy could be a 1A wide receiver as he gets fully developed in the National Football League. He's got speed, he can test you deep, and he's starting to make really tough catches on some of the intermediate routes too. This person believes, and I do too, I think he can become a top flight wide receiver. Again, not quite Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson because of the size and everything else. But this is
a talent.
This is well, no. But my point is,
Christ,
he does have talent.
I was about to say first team All Pros, yeah, but them dudes.
But
yeah.
my point is, you have a legitimate guy that is probably going to. He can make a huge difference in your offensive game plan moving forward as he continues to develop as a wide receiver.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we got someone on the Payless Liquors hotline who would like to weigh in. Mark, is this Dave? Bring Dave on. Let's hear what he has to say about these 2025 Colts. Dave, you're on.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good morning,
Terrific.
sir. How
Good
are
to hear
you?
from you.
So, there's been a lot of talk about the O-line the last couple of weeks, and granted, they got their butt kicked by Pittsburgh. But my concern right now is Daniel Jones, and has he gotten in his own head? He's throwing interceptions. He's not getting the ball out as quick as he was the first 8 weeks of the season, and he's short-arming stuff. He's missing receivers badly. And so I'm wondering what happened. I mean, have the defenses seen enough tape that they figured it out, or do we have another issue there? And hopefully this bye week they get it corrected.
All right. Well, thanks, Dave, for the question. I do think that right there is a response that I've gotten from a lot of Colts fans. It's not like, oh my gosh, I no longer believe in my team, but oh boy, are we going to see some downward trends here in the coming weeks after the bye, and can we correct it before then? I would say two things. I do think that Daniel, I think he deserves credit for his ability to move the ball against the Falcons. They had one of the best pass defenses in the league, so it's not like he was going up against scrubs or some bottom dwellers or feeders. They're a really good unit, and they don't give up many yards through the air. So he moved the ball pretty well. The interception you like to have back. The ball security, I think, is very concerning. Got to keep two hands on it. So probably a mixture of both, Dave, where, it is partly Daniel's fault. I can't absolve him when you have 7 turnovers in 2 games. You don't get a pass for that because your offensive line is struggling. But at the same time, he does, in certain instances, need a little bit more time to work with, which I don't think he's getting. And because of that, he's missing some of the other things that he was just hitting, as easy as day earlier this year. So there's a lot of things that they can certainly clean up, I think, in that regard. And they certainly will look to do going into the bye week.
Dave, appreciate the phone call. Thanks very much. Checking in on the fan text line right now, 239-1070. Justin writes, I think it's time to ask some questions to Quentin Nelson, Bernard Ryman, Braden Smith. When Mitchell messed up with the Rams game, his name was in the news. When Josh Downs fumbled the football in Pittsburgh, his name was in the news. Daniel Jones fumbling the ball security, that's news. But we only say offensive line, $100 million tackle, Hall of Famer guard, and at right tackle in Braden Smith. These guys need to be held responsible by name just as much as everybody else. And I think they'd probably tell you, maybe they did after the game, they've got to be better, James.
Yeah, that's a good point Justin makes. I will say, and I'll have to actually look back at the tape this week myself to identify, okay, who is doing what on each pass play, run play, things like that. So personally, I try not to assign too much blame to a specific offensive lineman unless I've seen the tape myself. And also, sometimes I don't even know what I'm watching. Like, okay, were you supposed to, slide left or right? Those things are something a little bit above my pay grade, but I'm actually working on a story right now, hopefully to kind of explain why we're seeing some of the turnovers with Daniel Jones. We do have a film guy over at The Athletic who's great with this stuff. Maybe I can pick his brain and kind of bring you all that sort of perspective, because I think it's a learning mechanism for everybody involved. But I do think that Bernard Ryman has not been up to the level that he needs to be a $100 million left tackle. I think that that's a fair criticism. He's had some rougher moments this year. I'll be honest, it is very hard for me to criticize Quentin Nelson at all. I think that he's been fantastic. Now I have to go back and watch again the more detailed version of the Falcons tape to see if there's something that stood out to me, but he's been almost the best offensive lineman in football, I would argue. And then, yes, I do think Braden Smith has had some issues there on the edge. And you look at where that pressure is coming from. It's coming from your guys who you really, really want to rely on and you've trusted for years. I mean, Bernard Ryman, Braden Smith, those two guys on the edge, those are not two guys that are, just walking in here taking over starting jobs like it was with Tanner Bortolini and Matt Gonzalez. So I'm sure Tony Sparano Jr. is going to take a lot of blame for that. And I'm not saying that in a mean way. I just know that he is a type that owns all those things. And so, again, is this a trend or is this something you can flip or sort of reverse? Because, as you pointed out, Jeff, you're not going to get a quote-unquote easier opponent come out of the bye. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs, we know what they do, and their defensive unit, and Chris Jones is nobody you can sort of ignore. So what type of challenges do those present, and can you be ready for those challenges?
Yeah, going back to Alec Pierce, too, JR just sent me a clip that he found on Facebook, and I had remembered this on Sunday, on that 83-yard touchdown run by Jonathan Taylor. Did you see Alec Pierce sprinting up the field to make sure that the secondary guy from the Falcons couldn't get close to JT in the last 15 yards there?
Yeah, I had a chance to watch that play back and ask Shane about it, and Shane mentioned Monday when I was still on Berlin time, actually. I think it was 9 p.m. there, and I was hopping on the Zoom call. And I'm like, this is crazy. But he mentioned that is what separates Alec a lot of the time. It's not just the talent through the air, being a potential I think wide receiver 1 in this league. It's the gritty stuff. It's the things that you do that don't show up in the box score or the box sheet or whatever you want to call it. And I think that also endures into his teammates because they love that dude. Everyone knows if you make a play in space, whether you're a running back or a fellow wide receiver, and Alec Pierce is in front of you, he's going to find somebody and put hands on him.
Yeah, that's one thing I like about this team. They have guys that do the dirty work. We already know this about Michael Pittman Jr. We're knowing this now and learning this about Alec Pierce over the last couple of years. And, of course, Tyler Warren. He's not afraid of getting anybody's way at all. I think he likes the contact.
Yeah, Tyler Warren's special, though. He's another guy who big plays this past week, and they're going to be relied on even more down the stretch just because I think when you have options through the air like you do with him, why wouldn't you trust him more with the game on the line? Because that dude, man, I think that as much as we talked about JT, and deservedly so, he's an MVP candidate. I would think that he is probably the front runner right now. I know the odds are not saying so much, but I guess I'm a little biased to the indie market and what he's doing. But on top of that, you look at what Tyler Warren is doing, I think that he is another all-pro candidate for this offense.
Jeff and I talked about this yesterday, James, so I want to get your thoughts. But, now that they're at the bye, they're 8-2, hot start, struggled last couple games. How have your expectations changed from training camp to now? What would be considered a disappointment in your mind at this Colts season? Where should they get to? And if they don't reach that, they'll be disappointed. For me, it's a divisional round appearance in the playoffs, whether that's via a wild card win or you get a bye and you're in there hosting a playoff game. I feel like division round of the playoffs is where my level is.
Mark, you are trying to thread the needle there, brother, because if they get a divisional round, if they get the 1 seed and they're automatically in the divisional round and they lose, oh boy, I cannot call that a successful seed. That would hurt me because your playoff drought as far as wins would go would still be 2018. So, one, I'll say you got to win in Jacksonville. Just get that off the list. End that, whatever that is going on, that voodoo, that dark magic, whatever you want to call it. But on a more serious note, I think for me it's AFC Championship.
Woo!
Yeah, because you don't make a trade like you did for Sauce Gardner without that mindset or that opportunity. And you also, and I think a lot of it, my expectations come from what I've seen. You're 8-2 and you're playing good football. You've beaten good teams. I know some people will see strength of schedule, and I think that's more of a college thing than it is for the NFL. But you did beat some good teams this year, and you have a chance to prove yourself even more, I think, especially in the second half of the season with road game at Kansas City, road game at Seattle. If you can split one of those or win both of them, if you can take it to your division opponents, if you can beat San Francisco at home, I think those are certainly matchups that will be, I think, for the bigger audience, those outside Indianapolis will give you some validity when it comes to being a contender. But for me, it's AFC Championship or nothing.
Well, one of the things that'll be interesting on Sunday as the Colts have a bye, we got you covered here on Sunday with a doubleheader. The first one, we're going to have the Chargers and the Jaguars. And think about this. If Jacksonville loses that game at home to the Chargers, and it's, who knows what's going to happen in that game, but the Colts would have a full 3-game lead on Jacksonville. heading into the second half of the season. And also, you've got the other two teams. The Titans are going to be hosting the Texans. You assume that the Texans are going to win that one. If they do, they'd still have a 3-game lead over the Texans as well.
Yeah, the division is yours. You can't. I mean, if there was
You just got to take care of some business of your own, and you'll be okay.
If there was ever a world where they didn't win the AFC South this year, I would rethink everything as far as this team goes.
That would be an all-time.
Yeah, like that. Even in my mind, that to me is like a foregone
if you get
conclusion.
caught in the AFC South at this point,
if that happens, Lord have mercy.
So we'll have Jacksonville and the Chargers in the first game of our doubleheader, and then we have the Broncos Chiefs in the second one, and that one all of a sudden has implications for the Colts down the road as well. Not only is it their next opponent, Kansas City, but they are currently tied with Denver and New England for the best record in the AFC. So from a Colts perspective, do you want to get rid of Kansas City and have Denver put them in a further hole, or would you like to see Kansas City take notch out of the Broncos here?
I don't know. I mean,
you got the head-to-head over Denver,
You probably
which
don't
helps.
want to see Kansas City in any capacity.
You want to get rid of them, I would
because
think,
they have
right?
Patrick Mahomes. So.
I think this is my first true test for Denver too, because I'm like, I don't believe this. This 8-2 seems a bit fictional to me.
I told you
so
that
if
yesterday.
you can get out, if you can beat Kansas City, then okay. I'm like, all right, you made me a believer a little bit more. I think Kansas City might take care of business, and then you're circling, next Sunday Colts Chiefs is a huge one.
Yeah,
By the way, this is a perfect week to have a bye week if you're a Colts fan, because there are some truly good games on paper this week. There are some really good games at the early slate, the afternoon slate, the nighttime games. You got Bucks Bills, you got Seahawks Rams, which would be pretty good. Chiefs Broncos, Lions Eagles. I think there's some pretty strong games on the schedule this week.
Having said that, I think Al Michaels is already napping and complaining about the Jets at Patriots on Thursday night on Amazon.
It could be worse. It could be Cowboys Raiders on Monday Night Football. Boy, ESPN and wants that YouTube TV to re-up. I don't know if you're really losing sleep missing these last few Monday night games if you're a YouTube TV subscriber.
I think I'm dug in at this point.
I am too. I mean, like I said, we have the ESPN app, so I've been able to watch, but
I ain't even tried to watch that way. I just don't care anymore. I'm like, well, I know Super Bowl will not be on ESPN, so
I guess
the
I
big
just
games
you
don't
got
matter.
there. You got there much earlier than I did, James. I've been that way for like 10 years.
The one thing I've been doing, I'm like, where's that credit at? Give me that thing.
Yeah, you know what? I'm about to do that during the break. He just reminded me.
You have to go through like 10 steps to find it.
I know, which is ridiculous. They don't just give it to you because whenever they increase the prices, they don't, ask you your permission or certainly go through all the same hoops. So I know that's a tangent, but we do have some college football talk coming up. I'm sorry, not college football.
College basketball.
College basketball talk coming up with Mike DeCourcy. So I'm looking forward to that on the other side of this break.
One of my favorite people, one of my good friends, Mike DeCourcy, going to stop by and talk about Purdue, the number 2 team in the country. And what do we have to look forward to for Indiana basketball? We'll talk about it next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. That'll start you off on a Wednesday morning right there, Mark Dykton. I'll take that. And welcome back, James Boyd from Berlin. We've been talking about the National Football League. The Colts sitting there at 8-2, but we got a lot of great college basketball, and really, season's underway now. We saw some great games around the country last night. We saw some of the bigger teams starting to play. We got a couple of great-looking matchups coming up, certainly Purdue and Alabama later on this week. And one of my favorite people and my favorite person to talk college basketball with joins us now on the Payless Liquors Hotline, the one, the only, Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News and Big Ten Network. I miss having lunch with you, man. When you coming back?
Jeff, it's great to talk to you. I will certainly be back in early April. I can promise you that.
All right. Well, let me know, and we'll get together
Mike,
then.
he says that about everybody that comes on the show, man. I don't know.
Mike and I have been watching college basketball together for more than we would care to admit. Wouldn't that be true, Mike?
I will admit it. It's been like we started almost 25 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'll admit it. I'm not ashamed. Hey, guys, I went last night to PPG Paints Arena, and I saw Paul McCartney rock and roll for 2 hours, nearly 2.5. Well, more than 2.5 hours. More than 2.5 hours. So if he can do that at 83 or 84, I can handle admitting that I've been hooping for a while.
James and Kevin trying to push me out the door already. They're ready to go, man. The young guys want their spot. It's good. I'm good with it. But no, it's great to have you on here. And hey, Purdue had the #1 preseason ranking. They went back to #2. They had the preseason loss to Kentucky and whatever. But how good, really? You've been watching college basketball, as we've just established, for a long time, up close and personal. How good could this team be this year?
Oh, I think they can be terrific. I certainly think they're Final Four good. I've always questioned whether or not they have quite the degree of NBA level talent that almost inevitably you will have on a national champion. My favorite stat, my most reliable stat in college basketball, is that every team since 1987, and of course, since 1988, the last exception was in 1987, and Indiana fans will be, that was us, has had a #1 draft choice, at least one, in their rotation, and usually it's more than one. And so that was always my concern about whether or not this Purdue team can win it. But one, you can redefine that expectation. It was done in '87. It could be done again. But also, if Braden Smith goes out and has the kind of year he's capable of having, there may be someone toward in the 20s that'll say, hey, that guy can make our team better. Even if he never starts, he'll make our team better. And who's to say he can't start? So that's the kind of team you're looking at. A team that those are your concerns. Do they have a pro? They certainly have enough talent to be a Big Ten champion, to be a Final Four team, and then we'll see whether or not those last couple of games, if they get there, they can conquer those.
Mike, one thing I do want to follow up in regards to what you just said about Purdue. Do you think they're athletic enough? I know they lost a bit of that with Miles Coleman, who also had a poster dunk the other day, and then Cam Heide as well.
Well, they did lose that, and Miles was certainly that kind of player, and I'd always hoped after seeing him very early in his career, maybe a second or third game at Purdue, that he would develop into that player. It just didn't quite click, and I don't know how much of that is being somewhat blocked by Fletcher Lawyer. I think he did have enough opportunity, and so did Cam Heide have enough opportunity that they could have broken through last year, but never quite were able to do that. I think the dynamism part is there with Jakari Harris and C.J. Cox. I think Braden himself is dynamic. He's as quick as any player on the floor. And then the question becomes up front, though, whether or not they're quick enough to be a significant defense. And I think that's one of the questions that goes into, it sort of dovetails with that enough pros conversation.
Mike DeCourcy, Sporting News, Big Ten Network, joining us here on the Payless Liquors hotline this morning. College basketball is here. What do we make so far of Indiana and Darian DeVries really turning over an entire roster, new coaching staff, new coach, new everything? They certainly run the ball. They certainly are jacking it up from three. I know they got the tough part of their schedule has not even really started, but what do we make of them in early returns?
Well, I think the thing that I like best about what they're doing, and I think that this is a mistake that's often made in when new coaches take over, especially if they have to go out with a fresh roster, and that is you set the expectation of here's who we're going to be at our best. We're going to play like this. And even if we don't win, we're going to play like this. This was a mistake that I thought was made at Louisville in the earlier part of this decade, where there was no line drawn. Even though they actually didn't have the level of talent you needed to compete in the ACC, they looked at it somewhat like, well, when we get our guys and we get better, then we'll be. And you can't do that. You have to say, you have to play this hard. You have to play this way. You have to conform to our expectations and all of that. And I think that's the best thing that Darren has done since he's gotten to Indiana. He said, this is going to be our style of play. And they've recruited to that to a degree, but they've also more so coached it because you could certainly allow players to play as they wish or with the level of intensity they wish, and he's not allowed that. I think it's helped to have his son on the team because his son has played for him in 5 different years at 3 different schools and knows from place to place to place that that's the standard. That particular style, that open style, that ball movement style, the willingness to take threes, the eagerness to take threes is always what's emphasized. But there's a lot of ball movement, a lot of intricate player movement involved with this Hoosiers offense. And as I said, I do think that having a player who's been through it doesn't necessarily have to be his son, but having someone who's played that style for 5 years and is really talented has been very helpful.
Mike, to that point, and I can certainly agree with you there. I remember watching Tucker at Drake, and they had some great teams over in the MVC. But how would you define overall success for this IU team? Because we know the expectations are always going to be high in Bloomington, but granted, it is Darren DeVries' first year with the program. So how would you look at, okay, this is enough to say they're headed in the right direction?
Oh, I think the minimum standard is what I just said, that they enforce their style. And obviously some of this is impacted by health, player health. You want to stay whole, have an abundance of players. It's hard to maintain the style that they're playing if your rotation gets shortened by injuries. But right now they have just about their full complement of players. They have a couple of guys down, but they still are able to play about 8 guys, and so they're able to enforce that style. I know they're going to be even better when they get fully healthy, but I think that's the number one component of this when you're in your first year. And I think if you demand more than that just because it's a transfer portal era and some teams get better than that, I think that's a mistake because you're not always going to get exactly who you want in these circumstances, especially in your first year, especially some teams, their connections to their former rosters are such that they can bring a lot of them along. I mean, I think Kurt Signetti's an example of that. He brought a lot of those JMU guys, and they were very successful first year. And sometimes that works. But I look from a competitive standpoint, a result standpoint. I think if you finish in the top half of the Big Ten, you've done fine. And I'm not saying that's the least they can do, but I'm saying if you've done that with this group, you've done fine. And I also think that if you do that, then you are going to be competitive for a spot in the NCAA tournament. Doesn't guarantee that they're going to get 9. It doesn't guarantee they're only going to get 9. They might get more. But I think if you are in the upper half of this league, you've had a really good year in the first time around, and then you want to go through the fall and get good players to sign, and you want to then go back into the portal and get guys who are going to make you even better. And I think that one of the things that I've seen, we saw it over the summer with the names, but now we've seen some of the guys on the floor. And I think that you have to be open, especially given the playing style at Indiana. I think you have to be open to looking overseas and seeing if there's help there.
Mike DeCourcy, Sporting News, Big Ten Network, joining us on the Payless Liquors Hotline. I want to talk about Big East and Butler real quick. They're 3-0. They haven't hit their part of the schedule yet either. But, man, exceptional night shooting last night. They shot 17 of 36 from three-point range against Chicago State. What's likely to happen for Coach Mata this year?
Well, that's a tough one to call. It's helpful that he does have some experience there. And so you look at that and you think that gives them a chance. I think it's also helpful that some of the teams in the Big East look like they've taken a step back. I mean, Xavier would be the most obvious example of that. And so it's really hard to read it, but I think that in their exhibitions, they played proficiently. They looked comfortable with each other, with the way that Thad wants to play. I think it's going to take a little time and see them get into some of the more challenging games in their schedule, and it starts on Saturday at SMU. I think that's a challenging game. South Carolina, Virginia, that's 3 high major games right in a row. And so I think that those games will help us get a better picture of who they are. Virginia has improved a lot. Last year they were in an interim situation, and the season really got away from them. They hired Ryan Odom, and he's a terrific coach, and he'll do a nice job there. So I think that Butler will be better this year. That's the hint that they've given me in watching them watching them some over the first the exhibition time and then the first week or so of the season. I think they will be better, but how much better and where that takes them, I think a lot of that will be decided really before they even get to the Big East.
Mike, I know you're in Pittsburgh. I know you're a Steelers guy, and on behalf of Mark Dykton, he loves to hate watch Aaron Rodgers. How'd you feel about that game the other night?
Oh, well, I'm sure he had quite a Sunday night because that was that really was the first time in any way that Aaron Rodgers let that team down. I was not a fan of the signing at the time. Until Sunday night, he hadn't really done anything that you could criticize. He'd been a really good leader. He'd been a really good citizen, for lack of a better term. I guess maybe it'd be better to say he'd been a really good Steeler. He'd basically kept everything, all the stuff that he was doing earlier in the decade on the radio / TV show. He'd put all that aside, wasn't making appearances on that show any longer, except for the periodic ones. And he had just focused on being a Steeler. And then Sunday night, he just what it was that got to him, I don't know, but he was poor. And they can't afford many of those. I mean, I don't know that they can afford any of those. You can be slightly below the line and still win an NFL game, but you can't be, scraping the bottom and expect to beat just about anybody in the NFL.
Well, you've made Mark's day, so there we go.
Do you want Mike Tomlin gone? There's some like a smattering of Steelers fans that are off the Mike Tomlin train.
There's way more than smattering. I think if there's certainly if it's only a smattering, it's a very loud smattering because they live in this fantasy world where the Jets, Giants, Raiders, those teams don't exist. Cowboys, they absolutely don't exist. The only teams that exist to them are the 1970s and 2000 Steelers and maybe the Kansas City Chiefs. That's it. Those are the only teams on the planet. You're one of them, or you're terrible. That's it. And I will never understand how you can't look at what you're seeing and see that in a lot of, like almost annually, but in a lot of circumstances, he's taking teams that shouldn't be where they are to where they are. I sometimes think that fans would rather be bad than be good to very good. And I can't understand that because they've got a baseball team here that's gotten off the deck once, literally for 1 3-year period in 35 years. And they complain about that all the time. Well, that's an alternative to having winning seasons every year since 2004. It really is. It could happen. You could go like the Raiders, and I think the Raiders made their last playoff appearance in like 2002 or something like that. You could be them, but here some of the people seem to think that you change coaches and you're automatically going to be the 70 Steelers again.
Always good to talk to you, buddy. You just, like I said, Mark's got a big old smile on his face for the rest of the day now. So you got that going on.
Well, good luck to the Colts the rest of the way.
All right. Let me know when you get back, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jeff.
There he is, Mike DeCourcy, Sporting News. Always fun to talk to him. And I thought I'd give Mark a little day in the sun because he was really enjoying that Aaron Rodgers performance the other night.
And the Mike Tomlin stuff, like, I feel like fans always think the grass is always greener on the other side. It's like, man, you better be careful because that man has done some pretty good things for that organization.
I don't know, though, Mark. I feel like at some point, though, a coach and a team can kind of just outgrow each other. They run
their course.
Or get stale. I think it's just stale. I'm not even saying he's a bad coach. I don't think that at all.
He's clearly not a bad coach.
But he needs, and they need something different. I think that is the conclusion that I'll draw there.
But if the second they let him go, I mean, he's at the top of the charts, is he not, for getting coaching?
Yeah,
like,
sure,
he's the top candidate.
For sure.
It's like him and Mike McCarthy, probably.
But
right?
at the end of the day, though, this is true about the National Football League. And Mike Tomlin, as Mike just pointed out, continually has a good to very good team, maybe not elite.
Mm-hmm.
But last time they had an elite team, they had a quarterback. Anywhere in the NFL you go with a coach that lasts a long period of time, you got to have a quarterback. And I know what's interesting to me, one of the most fascinating guys to watch for me is in San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan. He continually has his teams in the hunt and competing, but where's his franchise quarterback been? But other than that, if you don't have a quarterback, you're not going to have continued success.
No, and they've kind of gone to the well with the Russell Wilson failed experiment, and I got ayahuasca Aaron over there, so it's not been good.
Don't say ayahuasca Aaron when I have hot coffee.
Well, I'm just saying. He needs to go meditate in a dark cave again. Did you see that picture of the still picture of him getting sacked the other day? His face changed. Like, his face looks totally, it doesn't even look like Aaron Rodgers.
It's AI.
It's John Travolta and Nicolas Cage in Face Off. Their faces changed.
That might have been the worst movie of all time. That's one of them.
Oh, what are you talking about?
That's one of them.
Get out of here. That's a 90s
movie.
classic.
It's a terrible movie.
Oh, my goodness.
It's a terrible movie.
I might print that picture of Aaron Rodgers.
I was excited
to
watch that movie. I went to it. I spent money on that thing. Terrible movie.
No, incorrect. Face Off is a cult classic.
Cult classic.
I'm just going to let that sit. Let it rest there. It's the Fan Morning Show with James Boyd, Mark Dykton, who's feeling himself after I think you like a Packers or Aaron Rodgers down game more than you like a Bears victory. I really believe that you're there.
I get just as much excitement and everything. That's why it's such a terrible game to be in a couple of weeks ago when they played each other. I'm like, can the meteor fall? That Atlas meteor, can that fall? The comet, can it go right into where they're playing? No? Okay.
I'm already getting texts from my friends saying I had a terrible take on Face Off. But I'll die on that.
I'm telling you, Face Off.
I had to Google it to remind myself of the movie, but this was a solid movie.
You're way off.
Yeah,
I didn't like it.
It was crazy.
Maybe
it was corny, but
maybe
it was
I'm
awesome.
thinking of the John Travolta Alien movie. What was that one?
Oh, that's Battlefield Earth.
That's the
I
one
never
I'm
saw that one.
That's the one I'm thinking of. That was the worst
Face
movie
Off.
of all time.
Come on now. Nicolas Cage is at like 11, and John Travolta's touching people's faces. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, when you put it that way.
What a selling point.
When you put it that way, Mark.
You need to rewatch it. Rewatch it and get back to me.
All right, I'll do that. I need to rewatch the Pacers because it's not going well right now. They are 1-10 after just absolutely giving up the farm last night. They were in Salt Lake City. Utah wins it 152-128, the fourth most points scored by the Utah Jazz in their franchise history last night. Starting five is getting a little bit better, at least for the Indiana Pacers. Pascal Siakam is back. Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith were there. Tony Bradley and Jeremiah Robinson Earl made up the rest of the starting five. But They got ahead 20-10, and then that was all Utah the rest of the way. In fact, Utah in their third and fourth quarter scored 44 in the third and 38 in the fourth. Just Pacers couldn't stop anything last night, James.
Well, I felt like we buried the lead there. We got TJ McConnell in his return off the bench. Scored 12 points in 12 minutes, did not play in the second half, which is understandable considering he was coming off of, I believe, a hamstring injury, so we'll monitor his progress. So if you're looking for a silver lining, the Pacers got their energy guy back, and he's a lot more than that. I think TJ McConnell can really, really hoop.
I thought the real silver lining of that game last night was those City Edition uniforms that the Pacers
Those are fire.
wearing. I like those things.
Yeah, I like those. 10 out of 10 on that.
I wouldn't even mind those being the main jerseys, man.
Yeah,
Those are
I
sweet.
like those a lot. And shout out to the design team for coming up with a nice rendition of the past and bringing it into the future.
Pascal Siakam had 27 points in that game last night. Andrew Nembhard had 25. Aaron Nesmith did score 17, but they just couldn't stop the Utah offense led by Lauri Markkanen, who had 35 points. Utah shot 55% from the field last night, James.
Yeah, I mean, the Pacers are not a very good defensive team at the moment, and it is evidenced by letting a team score 150 in regulation.
All right, that's the Pacers playback presented by C&J Water, the official water treatment partner of the Indiana Pacers, cnjwater.com. The Pacers will finish up a 4-game road trip in Phoenix tomorrow night, 9 p.m. tip, 8:30 airtime here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. College basketball last night up at Hinkle Fieldhouse. Butler had a great night shooting. They beat Chicago State by a score of 98-66, 47.5% from three-point range last night. That'll get it done. 17-36 is not bad.
Not bad at all. I mean, usually you shoot that well, you got to come away with a win.
They did come away with the win. Again, in that game, they were led by Finley Bizjack. He scored 22 points, had 6 assists last night. And Michael Ajayi, nice game, 10 points and 11 rebounds. And really, Bizjack scored 18 of his 22 points in the first half. And then, just everybody else got to play last night, too. So that was nice for Stad Mod. A lot of people getting a lot of minutes last night. So they will play in Texas at SMU later on this weekend. Now, tonight, it'll be Bloomington full of basketball tonight. Indiana hosting Milwaukee. That one will start at 7 p.m., airtime 6:30 over at WIBC, our sister station, 93.1. And I like what Coach DeVries has going on early. Again, we don't know, haven't played big-time teams yet, but I like the fact that they get up and down the floor and they can shoot the three ball. You got to have that. You got to have that in your arsenal these
Absolutely.
days.
They did not have that in their arsenal the last couple of years under Mike Woodson. So will that flip their fortunes? And like Mike DeCourcy said a little bit earlier, what's the standard for success this year? And to me, you got to make the tournament.
All right. Also, tomorrow night, Purdue will be at Alabama, a battle of two top 10 ranked teams right now. And this is a chance for Matt Painter's team to start finding out what they really have. They did lose that exhibition game to Kentucky, but now they're on the road to play Alabama, who's ranked 8th right now. And everybody's talking about this being a Final Four team. We just heard it from Mike DeCourcy, but it's time to start looking like that, too.
Let's kick some ass.
Wow.
Well, James mentioned Mike Woodson, so I feel obligated to play some Mike Woodson sound.
There you go.
They didn't kill us.
No, they didn't.
Colts are on a bye this week. They go into that bye 8-2. When they come out of it, they will play a week from Sunday in Kansas City against the resurgent Kansas City Chiefs. We were talking about Jonathan Taylor and how he leads the league in rushing by a wide margin through 10 games so far. But Daniel Jones is the 9th-ranked passer in the National Football League by passer rating. And I think, yes, we've seen some struggles from him over the last 2 games. So will the real Daniel Jones stand out and stand up in the second half of this season?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and I wrote about it in my story and took some heat for it, actually. People were kind of mad. Oh, you took an entire paragraph to point about all the things that he's done wrong, and you didn't give enough credit to what he was doing late in the game. I get all of that, but I don't care who you are. If you are a quarterback and you commit 7 turnovers in 2 games, you're going to get criticized. That is the reality of that position. Now, I will say it's not all on him, but he does have to be better after the bye. And it's not about people telling me, oh, well, he threw for 240 yards against the Atlanta Falcons defense. They're number 1 in passing. It's never about moving the ball with the Colts. They moved the ball great against Atlanta, or 500 yards of offense. They moved the ball great against Pittsburgh. It's the turnovers that always do them in, especially this season. So I'm never concerned about them moving the ball. They do that in their sleep. It's just taking care of the football so you can score more points.
And we will talk to Stacy Dales of NFL Network at the top of the hour and get her take on what's going on with the Colts the first half of the season. Interesting weekend for watching if you're a Colts fan. We will have a couple of games here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan on Sunday, a doubleheader. In the first one, it'll be Jacksonville hosting the Chargers. If the Chargers win that game, Colts go into the second half of the season out of the bye here with a 3-game lead in the AFC South, James.
Not a bad place to be, but as we've talked about throughout the show, you got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, and then the second half of that doubleheader will have Denver and Kansas City. You get a little preview look at what the Chiefs are looking like right now as the Broncos continue to lead the AFC West there. How about this, Mark? Major League Baseball, everything old is new again. Repeat winners for Manager of the Year. You don't see that very often.
Not very. I also just hate that baseball just spreads these out. It takes like 2 months to give out the awards. I'm like, just do an awards night.
Yeah,
why
that is
why is
crazy.
this taking for? It's like one a day. It's
They
ridiculous.
do that all the time. They're trying to take a page out of the NFL and stay relevant every day.
No, they're not doing a very good
I was
job.
about to say,
Just
that
get the
ain't
awards
happening.
out of the way.
Yeah.
It just takes forever.
For the second straight year, the Brewers' Pat Murphy is the National League Manager of the Year. He prevailed in the voting over the other two finalists, Terry Francona of the Reds, our guy, my guy, Kevin and I's guy, and Rob Thompson of the Phillies. Meanwhile, in the American League, Stephen Voigt of the Guardians has repeated as the American League Manager of the Year. He won the balloting over his fellow finalist John Schneider of the Blue Jays, who we saw in the World Series, and Dan Wilson of the Mariners. Dan Wilson would have been my vote. The Mariners, I thought, had a terrific season this year.
MVP should announce right before pitchers and catchers report in Arizona at the track that they're on.
You
is
sound
true.
bitter, Mark.
It's just annoying. It's just to get it over with.
I agree.
Come on. This is what I'm talking about. Baseball. Baseball. You have 162 games. You have a long postseason. Get the awards out of the way. Get it over with. Do one night. Do the ESPYs. Get it out of the way.
James, do you see the Philadelphia Eagles cornerback Jair Alexander stepping away from the team before deciding whether or not he will retire? That's crazy. They acquired Alexander from the Ravens earlier this month for a late-round draft pick swap. Eagles sent a 26th sixth-rounder to Baltimore for Alexander and a 2027 seventh-rounder. He's only appeared in 2 games this season, both with Baltimore. He didn't even travel with the team for their game against Green Bay on Monday night, and the team listed him as out with his designation as knee/coach decision.
It's been a rough year for him. And so anytime you hear that word retirement, you're a little skeptical of where his mind is and how he can help your team. But it's just one of those things where I think the cornerback position is unforgiving at times. He was great a couple years ago, and now not so much.
Hey, did the Colts, when they were looking for help in the secondary with all those injuries, did they ever bring in Asante Samuel and Jr. and think about signing him at all?
I don't believe that they worked him out.
I don't know. He was not part of the. They were not on the list of the teams he visited.
He just signed with the Steelers to help them out in the second half of the season. So, anything else you want to throw in right now?
Like I said earlier, Travis Hunter out for the rest of the year for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Colts have paid him twice in the second half of the season. So, unfortunately for him, he will no longer play during his rookie year, but that could be a break for the Colts because he is a very good player, in my opinion.
I will point out that the second college football playoff ranking show happened last night. Indiana is still ranked number 2, just behind Ohio State, just ahead of Texas A&M. But a lot of folks nationally think Texas A&M has just been steamrolling everybody, especially in that conference that
Get
everybody
in line.
loves.
You're not jumping IU, okay?
No.
Get in line.
I still love the fact that IU, the 3 times on the road, they've faced some real adversity. They've gotten up off the mat. They responded to pick 6 in Oregon, and they just took over control of the game there. Then they won late in Iowa before that, and then this past weekend we all saw the 80-yard drive with everything on the line there. So I like the way that they're playing right now. I don't think you can fault them.
I like it, but you need to stop playing with fire and get back to the blowouts. A little bit easier on the heart and the mind.
All right. Coming up in a moment, we will talk a little bit more about the NBA, a big piece of news happening there, and what the Pacers look like as they finally start to get healthy. Is it even going to matter at some point? Talk about it next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. been a rough start for the Indiana Pacers, 1-10, and it makes all the sense in the world. You lose your best player to an injury, and he's not going to be around all year long with Tyrese Halliburton. The Miles Turner situation, I think we've gone over, dissected enough times. It is what it is, and it's just the insane rash of injuries over the first 6 weeks of the season, and you're literally, for the first, 8 games of your season, you're playing half your roster guys that should be playing for the Noblesville Boom at this point in time.
Yeah, it's rough. So, I mean, it's hard for me to find any type of hope there with this team. And I told you all early on, you get to 20 games in and you only got about 3 or 4 wins. Mm-hmm. You start looking at where you are when it comes to NBA draft lottery seating and spots. So,
and there's 4 or 5 good players this year too.
Yes, very good players.
Yeah.
I wasn't planning on going to Tankathon this early, but we might be getting close before Thanksgiving. We might be getting close.
I know.
It's been a rough go. I don't want to hear that sound before Thanksgiving. I don't want to get there.
Wow.
I know.
Wasn't planning on that.
I think the last time you played that was for a number 4 pick in the NFL draft, wasn't it?
I know. And they always say Noblesville booming those G League teams see the stars of tomorrow today. It might literally be tomorrow the way the injuries are stacking up for the Pacers.
Look, if the season ended today, according to Tankathon.com, the Pacers will have the number 2 pick in the draft.
Oh. Could
be a great player.
Let's, New Orleans is number 1, I'm guessing?
No, Washington.
Oh, wow.
New Orleans actually has 2 wins this year.
that might be
stacking them up.
Yeah.
They've doubled up the Pacers. They have double the amount of wins.
Let's go to the phone lines, 239-1070. Tony joins us this morning on a Wednesday here on the Fan Morning Show. Good morning, Tony. What's up?
Morning, guys. That was a perfect segue with what I called for. But before I start, this is not why I called, but I hate the new thing that for a few years now, everybody's a number 1 pick. Number 1 pick's the first guy picked. A
Thank
round
you.
1
Preach.
pick or
yes.
a first round
yes.
pick.
Yes.
Yeah. I hate that crap. It's so, they went first? Oh, wait, no, they were a first round pick. But anyway, I only get to listen to you guys on my drive to school because I'm a teacher and a little bit of J&B going home. So if you've talked about it, my bad.
What do you teach?
I teach 8th grade Spanish over at Chapel Hill on the west side.
God bless you. Anybody dealing with, I had just got 2 kids in high school now, and
Yep.
I can tell you, I love them to death. I love all kids. Middle schoolers, they're tough, man.
I love all kids.
Hey, 9 years to go, man. 9 years to go. I am counting. But, no, we need to give some flowers to the Pacers management. The foresight of making that trade before the draft during the playoffs to get our first-round pick this year and not last year's first-round pick is freaking genius now. Because look at what you guys are talking about, not the number 2 pick in the draft, second best lottery odds. But either way, having our pick this year is clutch. And just want to hear what you guys say about it, and have a good day.
Thank you very much, Tony. Good luck with those middle school kids. Again, I love my kids. They're in high school now. Middle schoolers are great, but they can be some work sometimes, man.
All I know is the last time I spoke at middle school, shout out to Highland Middle School up in the region, they called me Unk.
There you go.
I was like, man, I'm getting old.
You're not even 30.
I told them I was getting close to 30. I was like, man, I'm about to be Unk in a few months or later this year. And they were like, you are already there. You were born in 1900s. So
that's when you start slapping children.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking, I got to square up with a freaking 12-year-old at 7 a.m. or something like that.
6, 7.
We're gonna play Bloody Knuckles right now. You guys know this game? Let's play that.
Yeah. But to Tony's point, I don't know how I expected that call to go. I think during the break, I was like, oh man, I hope this guy is going to be like, get rid of everybody and fire everybody. But no, I think he made a very good point. The Pacers, in a way, knew this could go left really quick. So them getting that first round pick back, to his point, was a very savvy move. It looks like it could be the move that really helps you kind of rebuild your sort of second identity with Tyrese Halliburton, because I don't know what this team looks like when he comes back. And let's just say, okay, he's back healthy next year. I don't think he'll be fully Tyrese again for another year after that, because typically when it comes to Achilles injuries, and I'm not an expert by any means, but just following a lot of athletics over the years, the guys that I have covered, when they tear their Achilles and they come back, it's the following year post-return where they fully get the confidence, the explosion, the agility, all those things back in their lower extremities. And so if you're looking at that timeline, that's, 3 years from now? And that, to me, lets me know that a lot of players here might not be here anymore, and you do need to stockpile and probably bring somebody else in who could be a part of that core next to Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah, and I also think that probably the plan for Tyrese next year, he's not going to play every night, certainly the first half, 2/3 of the year next year. They're gonna pick and choose the spots that he plays. He's not going to be playing a lot of back-to-backs. He's not going to be playing a ton of minutes. The idea being that, hey, when it comes March next year in 2027, maybe he's far enough removed from the injury and they brought him along at just the right pace that he becomes a force again down the stretch and into the postseason for 2027. You're talking about there. So that's best case scenario.
We talked about that trade yesterday about how like it went under the radar because they're in the middle of the finals when it happens. Like, that's weird. They made a trade, and then now you're seeing how huge that is. Because like, could you imagine watching this team now and they didn't have that pick? Could you imagine how the season's going if they didn't have their first round pick this year? You'd be like, oh boy. But now in hindsight, you're like, that's actually huge. That might be like one of the best Kevin Pritchard moves he's ever made. In hindsight,
I want to point out something.
Shout out to Hoosier 97. He said, "Who was bigger, you or the 12-year-old James?" All right.
Wow.
He's the same guy that
calls me Indiana Bones, which I think is actually a very good nickname. I can't lie. But you know what? I will plead the fifth on that question because let's just say some of these kids, I look at them, I'm like, you know what? You probably, you get a little riled up. I don't know if they could take your boy down. I still got some of that grown man strength, but. I'm not picking on any 12-year-olds anytime soon. Or actually, if I am, I'm trying to get all my wins and all my trash talk in now before they get older and it gets a little spooky for me. Which is why I think when Kevin Bowen, this was months ago, he showed me the picture of Max Bowen with the little basketball. Yeah. I said I could take him one-on-one right now.
Well,
you got to get your wins early.
And you will block his shots, too, right?
You got to get your wins early, and then when they get old enough to beat you, you're like, I'm not, you know what, I don't play anymore.
Have you seen those videos of like the adult blocking the 4-year-old's basket every time?
That's going to be me.
Yeah. Kids got to learn.
Look, the reason why I am now is because my parents were my first haters. You need some of that early on in life to build character.
Jay, writing in on the fan text line, 239-1070, says, hated the Indy jerseys. I know they're City Edition, but it's the Indiana Pacers. I thought those jerseys were fire last night. I love the look of those things. I love the court that they showed. I can't wait to see the City Edition court, too. Did you see a picture of that?
Yeah, I'm always a fan of that. But I want to say, what did it have Indy on there last night? I thought that was a regular, not regular, but I thought it had the actual Pacers name in it. So maybe I'm tripping. Yeah, it did have Pacers in it last night. So maybe, I think he means the ones from last year.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I would agree.
He also says he figures the Pacers brass have at least earned his trust. We all knew this was going to be a down year.
Yeah,
and that was before Miles Turner. I'm sorry. I got to read this right. That was before Miles Turncoat, petty ex-girlfriend tuner. JR.
Oh, dang. Well, yeah, I'm sure you all probably talked about it a little bit. He's done himself no favors as of late. But, yeah, I would say from the time I started covering the team in 2021-22, which I believe was Rick Carlisle's first year back with the franchise, them going from a core of Malcolm Brogdon, Miles Turner, and Domantas Sabonis to 6 months ago being in the NBA Finals. Yes, you've earned a lot of trust when it comes to making moves and being able to be, I guess, forward-thinking in whatever moves you make. And I do think if you're going to get back to that stage, it's going to look a lot different than it did, unfortunately, 6 months ago, just because so much can change in 2 to 3 years, especially in the NBA.
Yeah, and because of all the injuries and everything else, this is what Rick Carlisle was dealing with last night. I'm going to give you names and the number of minutes they played last night in an NBA regular season game. Jarris Walker, 22 minutes, which is fine because he's a coming guy and he's going to be a part of rotation moving forward. That's great. But Jay Huff is getting minutes. Cody Martin's getting minutes. Monty Morris is getting double-digit minutes. Ray J. Dennis did not play last night. Talon Peter did not play last night. But you also had Jeremiah Robinson Earl getting 22 minutes in the starting lineup. He's just trying to figure out 5 guys that'll play together and work well together right now.
Absolutely. So it's one of those things where, again, he has to figure out a way to keep his troops kind of, aligned and hopeful, but at the same time, the reality is pretty bleak.
All right. Stacy Dales is going to join us top of the hour from NFL Network. In the meantime, we'll get back to some of your texts at 239-1070 coming up in just a moment. It's the Fan Morning Show. James Boyd, returning from Europe, a conquering hero. After taking it to the folks in Berlin.
I didn't conquer anything. I just went and visited.
We'll do it next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Good morning. Welcome into a Wednesday here. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Happy to have James Boyd back from Berlin. Stayed an extra day there, taking in some of the history and the culture. And, that's what I'd do. Take advantage of the time you're over there, man. No, you don't want to go all the way to Berlin and then turn around and come right home and not do anything but watch a football game, right?
No, and I would have turned right back around and came back on my normal schedule had I gotten out there on my normal time, because when I landed Saturday, I believe Joel A. Erickson and Stephen Holder were already out and about in Berlin. And so I didn't do the cardinal sin of going to sleep. I took like an hour nap. It wasn't like go to bed, but I was like, I need some juice before I get out here in these Berlin streets. But I got a chance to see a lot of different cool things, learn a lot of history about the place. Remember, how we should treat people, because there are a lot of memorials for Jews and Jewish people and things like that. So it is, like I said, very cool, kind of sad, but also a great perspective to have beyond just going there for a football game. And then the place they played at, obviously very historic, the Olympic Stadium out there, and knowing the history that was there with Jesse Owens. And then on a much lesser scale, which I put in my story, JT had his historic day there, and just the through line from then till now was really inspiring. So a place that I would hope to revisit again, but if I don't, at least I had my one shot in Berlin.
Well, I'm proud of the fact that you went and tried some food over there from some local fare,
Yeah.
which was good. Because I will tell you this, one of my favorite things whether it's going to France or going to Italy or whatever it is, going over in Europe, I like checking out the local food. But I will tell you this, we were waiting for something outside the Vatican one time, and right around the corner there was a McDonald's, and curiosity got the best of me. I'm like, I'm just curious, what does a cheeseburger in Rome taste like from McDonald's, right? First of all, you go in there and there's different things that you don't always get here. There's a few different things, whatever. But I'll tell you what, man, a cheeseburger, I had one in Rome, and I tried one at the airport. I think it was in Paris, or maybe it was just after the airport. I don't know how they do it. It's exactly the same, man. Fries are the same. Cheeseburgers the same. And that was it, just that one day. But just curiosity, like, what is it really like over here, man?
I think I'm good as long as I have a photo of what I'm going to eat. That was my hardest thing. It's like getting the menu and trying to read it. And they would say some of the stuff in English underneath or how they had written in German. But I'm like, I just need a picture of what it looks like. And that will allow me to be more forthcoming in trying it. Because I didn't want to order something that I think is one thing and it's not. So when I did try some of the traditional German food, I told you one of the days I was out, I just kind of was stopping in different places, and hey, I would grab a bite here, grab a bite there. It's because they had these big pictures on the side of like whatever building or a little cart, and I could see exactly what I was getting, and that kind of, I think, got rid of some of the anxiety for me of like, am I trying something that's gonna be like nasty to me, or I just don't know what it is. But at the same time, I think you kind of just got to go for it. I'm not one of those people who wants to go somewhere and not try new things, so I was proud of myself for that. But like I said, the last night, I did go and find some chicken wings and some fries. And they also gave me some water, and it was served neat. I took a picture of it and put it on Twitter, because the way it looks, the little bottle they gave me, it looks like, I got like a glass of vodka or something, but it was just water, still water.
Not big on ice over in Europe either. You got to ask.
No, I got like 2 cubes of ice, and that was all I got pretty much the entire time I was there.
But no, I love eating the food over there. But no, just that one, we were sitting there with nothing to do, and it was right across the street. I'm like, all right, I'll check it out. But it is what it is, man. So
There
now
you
I
go.
know that, and I don't have to do it again.
Exactly.
That's how that works. So I always enjoy hearing stories of travel and things like that. Mark, you didn't even have to travel last night. You took this great picture. You should post it online if you haven't yet. You saw the Aurora Borealis from your backyard in Brownsburg last night.
Yeah, my dad's is in Illinois. He's like, yeah, I think there's a good chance of an aurora tonight. It's like, all right, we'll go out and look. And it's like, oh, yeah, there it is. So I took a couple photos and everything like that. But, yeah, that was cool. So first time I'd ever seen them. And my oldest saw it, too. The other two were already sleeping. So that was pretty cool. Pretty cool thing. So I'm like, hey, the universe is kind of cool every once in a while when that happens.
Yeah, you should post that. It was really cool. I saw
I will
that
get
picture,
on
man.
that.
All right. Coming up in a moment, we will talk about the Colts' second half of the season, the AFC in general.
Stacy Dales, too.
Stacy Dales. Well, that's what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
Stacy Dales from NFL Network will join us as we continue. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Happy Wednesday. James Boyd back from Berlin. The Colts on a bye. They will play a week from Sunday against the Kansas City Chiefs. Mark Dykton spinning the ones and twos as always. Back in your normal seas. It feel good to get back over there on the right side of the board again?
I'm just happy the key card worked this morning. I figured Caleb took my job while I was co-hosting.
Nobody taking your job, and we had a great time having you here. Let's time to talk a little bit more about the Colts and the AFC, and we bring in our next guest. Stacy Dales works at NFL Network. And Stacy, if I'm not mistaken, I believe you were in Berlin this past week, were you not?
Yeah, good morning, guys. I was. What a great trip it was to Berlin. And certainly, I mean, if you didn't think Jonathan Taylor was in the running for MVP, go back and watch that game on Sunday.
Stacy, I believe it was you in the post-game interview, and correct me if I'm wrong, was that you and JT and then Chris Ballard came and kissed him?
You are 100% correct. That happened. That happened. I got to go back today and get that clip and post it because I'm interviewing Jonathan Taylor after he has 286 scrimmage yards. Okay, so that's a career high for this young man. And Chris Ballard steps in, and we captured him actually on the overhead camera. And it was really cool. Gives him a big kiss on the cheek. I think even Jonathan was surprised by it. I certainly was, but we had to keep it moving because you guys know.
Yeah.
What a professional.
Time talks and TV.
Stacy Dale joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline right now to talk about the Colts and their standing as they go into their bye week. They're 8-2. And a little bit of a regression maybe for the offense in the Pittsburgh game, and they pulled it out against Atlanta. But overall, league-wide, what are you hearing and seeing about the Colts? Just the perception of where they are and who they are.
I think when you find a way to win in the NFL, as we saw on Sunday, and you're a good team, you're target in many respects. I mean, I was in Pittsburgh as well with the Colts, and you have to find ways to win in this league. And they did it on Sunday. They did it when you travel to any of these international sites and you win, it's a big deal. And I think if you're the Colts and you're staring down, right now they're 8-2. They're the number one seed in the AFC. They hold the head-to-head tiebreaker over the 8-2 Broncos. They hold the conference win-loss tiebreaker over the 8-2 Patriots. Like, I'm a believer. Spending time in production meetings with Shane Steichen and Danny Jones and Zaire Franklin, the culture is special. Jonathan Taylor, the culture is really special. I've covered this team for a long time, guys, and this is probably the best culture that I've felt. Just if you walk in a locker room and you feel something special, this team has it.
Again, we have Stacy Dales, the NFL Network's senior national reporter here on the Payless Liquors hotline. You can also catch the Commanders and Dolphins game, which is also overseas in Madrid, on Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time from Madrid exclusively on NFL Network, and it's available to stream as well on NFL Plus on all your devices. Stacy, the one thing I think has changed the most when it comes to this team is obviously quarterback. Daniel Jones is playing some of the best football of his career. A little bit shaky, I guess, the last couple of weeks, some of the turnover issues. But overall, what has been your impression of his career resurgence here in Indianapolis, considering how bleak things looked just months ago, 6 or 7 months ago, leaving New York?
Yeah, the team believes in him. I mean, you're right. To your point, 7 giveaways over the last 2 weeks is substantial. But And I don't know what's going on up front. I mean, this is a really good offensive line, but in my conversations, including, with Chris Ballard and Carly Ursay-Gordon and Shane Steichen, like they feel very comfortable with their quarterback right now. And one of the things, guys, in my production meetings last week that I took away from my conversations with Shane Steichen, I asked him, are you doing anything, because he was a quarterback, so he played the position when he played, and he works very well with quarterbacks. So you talk about quarterback whispers, however you want to paraphrase it or describe it. And, I said, are you doing anything different with Daniel Jones? Like, what's unique about this relationship? And he told me that we can have next-level conversations. I wanted to get this in so badly in our broadcast when I was on the sideline. But what he meant by that was sometimes you can sit down with a quarterback and you can watch the tape, right? You can put the tape on, and what do you see? You're sitting with your quarterback as the play caller in terms of Shane Steichen, and they can actually have those conversations without sitting down and watching the tape. So there's an sort of visual part of it, and then there's an audio part of it, and they can just talk football and see the game the same way. So I thought that was really special. I haven't heard a lot of play callers say that to me. And so I think they're big believers in Danny Jones in Indy.
What do you think the addition of Sauce Gardner to that secondary, and they're getting Shavarius Ward back pretty quickly here too? What do you think of the moves they've made and what they can do down the stretch here?
Getting Mooney back was huge next week. It should be after the bye, right?
Yes.
So second concussion against Arizona. So what I learned about, just the defensive backfield, really after that Arizona game, guys, the Colts were shopping for a cornerback. So, you lose, as you mentioned, Charvarius Ward after that Arizona game with his second concussion, and now you're on the hunt. So they had been looking for a cornerback all the way back to that time frame. And really, it was about 4 weeks ago that they started targeting Sauce Gardner. So essentially, the Jets were not shopping him. They were not trying to get rid of Sauce Gardner, but that's how strongly Chris Ballard, the Colts, felt about going and getting. As Carly Ursay-Gordon told me, when you have a good fire going, pour more gasoline on it. That's why they went and got Sauce Gardner, to pour gasoline on this fire. So to answer your question, this is massive. I think he was exposed a little bit because Drake London was all over the formation on Sunday in Germany. And, he's gonna need a little bit of time. They told me going into the game, fellas, that he was 100%. I mean, his first walkthrough, they had a 70-play walkthrough in his first practice as a Colt, and he never made a mistake. Lou Anarumo told me. But I think there were a few mistakes, a few issues this past Sunday. He'll get up to speed. He's really smart. He's really intelligent, great football acumen. It's a huge move, and I think with Mooney coming back, this is going to be one of the best secondaries in football.
So, Stacy, and again, thanks for joining us, making time for us on the Pale Sickers Hotline. We have the senior NFL network reporter with us, traveling all across the world, doing great work. And, going back to JT, a few years ago, he's going through the contract dispute with Jim Irsay. Quite frankly, it was very public and very in your face. And then you look up a few years later, and he's arguably the best player in the sport. So how realistic do you think it is for him to become the first NFL MVP at running back since Adrian Peterson in 2012?
Well, after I saw Saquon Barkley, last year, and then not get a most valuable player.
It's
hard. Dude, I mean, come on, man. If you ain't a quarterback, it's a tough slope for you. But I think what Jonathan Taylor is doing right now, here's what I love about him. 6 years in the NFL. We saw his illustrious season back in 21. I mean, he's already eclipsed 1,000 rush yards. I mentioned that he had a career-high 286 scrimmage yards. He's doing it in so many ways, but the thing that really impresses me about him is in our meetings with him last week, I mean, Kurt Warner asked him, what do you want to be remembered for? What do you want to be known for? And he said, dependable. I want to be known for my dependability. If a teammate needs me, I'm there for him. If a play is called, I get the job done. And that could not have been more true in Germany. His second career game with 200-plus rush yards, 3+ rushing touchdowns, and that's second to himself. He's really special. And the way he prepares, the way he goes about his business, he's team first. He is really extraordinary. I'm not surprised that Chris Ballard jumped in on our interview and gave him a big old salute because, guys, I mean, I'm blown away sometimes by some of these players in the league. And last year it was Saquon. This year it's Jonathan Taylor. He's so stout. He has his body ready. He's just the quintessential teammate. And I remember that dispute, by the way. I was at training camp when he was walking around. Do you guys remember when he was walking around and he has, like, hoodie over his face?
Yeah, the joke, Stacy, was we would look and kind of see, is the hoodie black today or is it blue?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I was there. I was following him around, and, like, he was so solemn, and it was just sullen, and it was like, I don't know how they're going to figure this thing out. I think anytime you're drafted in the second round in the NFL and you're that good, you have a notorious chip on your shoulder. And I think Jonathan Taylor plays like that.
Stacy Dales, I'm just going to remind people, like, before becoming an outstanding NFL reporter and broadcaster, people forget she was an all-star in the WNBA and was an All-American at Oklahoma in basketball. I'm going to ask you this kind of out of left field, and I know you haven't paid close attention because you're not covering it, but we missed Caitlyn Clark this second half of the season because of an injury here in Indiana with the fever. We had Kelsey Mitchell, who had an amazing season, and they still came within one game of going to the WNBA Finals. How good is this team set up to be moving forward? I know there's a lot of work stoppage and things like that, but from the outside looking in, what do you see as a former pro basketball player?
Yeah, well, I do follow the Fever. They're my faves. Like, thanks for bringing this up, because Stephanie White actually coached me in Chicago for a season when I played for the Sky. And what she did with that team without Caitlyn and Soph and Lex, and just what the Kelsey, first of all, like, if I could go back in time, if you put a time machine on me and you said, Stace, can you go play for a team? I am going to the Indiana Fever. I am, like, talking to my agent. I'm begging to get me there. I don't care what it costs, what the cost is for me to take a pay cut, whatever it is. Like, I want to go play on that team, because, first of all, like, I've never seen anything like Caitlyn Clark. Okay, I played against the best of the best: Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, Lisa Leslie. I mean, the list goes on. Tamika Catchings, greatest competitor I've ever faced. You guys know her well there in Indy. Caitlyn Clark is extraordinary. She is, when you talk about, generational talents, the only time you should bring that term up is when somebody actually changes the landscape of whatever it is. And Michael Jordan did that. Everybody wanted to play like him after that. Now all the kids coming up want to play like Caitlyn. They're starting to shoot threes from 40 feet. And I was always taught as a kid, when you play basketball, like, get as close as the basket as you can, because the percentage goes up. So, like, if you're going to shoot a three, make sure your toes are on the three-point line. No. These kids now are changing the way they play and the way they train because of Caitlyn Clark. And then the whole nucleus surrounding, like, to have Pippen and Jordan, like Kelsey and Caitlyn, is ultra special. I think that team is going to be sensational next season, and I can't wait to follow it and watch it.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Well, hey, can we check back in with you later on this football season? It's been a joy to talk to you.
Anytime, guys. I would be so privileged to join you.
All right. We'll talk to you again soon, and travel safe for all your travels there. We'll be looking for you again on NFL Network.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
There she is. Literally one of my favorite people in the business, James. I was telling you that before the break here. Stacy Dales. Terrific.
One of the best in the business. Again, the senior reporter for NFL Network, and certainly does a fantastic job, I think. And again, you can catch Commanders Dolphins, which airs Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time from Madrid, exclusively on NFL Network, and it's available to stream across all devices with NFL Plus.
She's probably just going to get a place in Europe and just stay over there for all the games that they have over there.
Not a bad life.
Said the Falcons-Colts game averaged 6 million viewers and was the second most watched Germany international game on record.
Not bad for 9:30 in the morning.
Not bad.
6:30 out west.
Helps when that game is actually really competitive and entertaining, because that was a hell of a game.
Yeah.
This one on Sunday, the morning game, is not going to be good. Dolphins-Commanders. Ugh.
You going to sleep in for that one?
Ugh. I mean, I might get up. The kids don't sleep in on Sundays, so I'll probably be up watching it, but it's not going to be an enjoyable watch.
I know the Dolphins had a big game against the Bills, but it kind of feels over the last couple of weeks like maybe they've steadied themselves. I don't think they're going to be a factor in any races in the AFC or anything like that, but they could play spoiler. They still have some pretty good players there. I mean, Devon Achane was just running over everybody all Sunday long.
I think that was the example of the NFL being weird, and it certainly can be week in and week out.
Yeah. All right, so that's what's going on with the Colts. They're on the bye. They play again a week from Sunday against Kansas City. More on that in a moment. It's time to check it down. One thing that keeps coming up about this Indianapolis Colts team, James, and I want you to comment on it, is everybody I talk to that's been in there says there is something that feels different within that locker room, within that team. Like, what can you put your finger on that and maybe talk a little bit more about something like that? Because you're around the team all the time.
I think it starts with the quarterback. I think Daniel Jones is the best quarterback they've had since Phillip Rivers, and ironically, Phillip Rivers was the last quarterback to take you to the playoffs in 2020. But beyond that, I think every year guys say, oh, we're focused, we're together, we want to win. You have better players, and it shows, and you're going all in because of those players.
Does it change anybody's, not change, but elevate the feeling when management goes out and they make a deal like bringing in a Sauce Gardner? Say, hey, we're all in on you guys this year.
I think so. I think it gives a lot of confidence, especially to the veterans, the Quentin Nelsons, the DeForest Buckners, Zaire Franklins, the Kenny Moores, those who have been there. And if you look at the overall landscape of the team, it's hard to imagine them having a very long window when a lot of your best players are in their, I want to say early 30s. I think DeForest Buckner might be 31. I think Zaire is the same age as me, 29. Kenny Moore is 30. So, yeah, you're very good at the moment, and you want to seize that.
When you take a look at the latest odds for NFL MVP, we were just talking to Stacy Dales about that. Even after that huge game, Jonathan Taylor is third right now behind two quarterbacks, Drake May at plus 300, Matthew Stafford at plus 300 as well, and then Jonathan Taylor at plus 500. But really not that far behind and just in front of Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised. He's going to have, again, an all-time great season to push for an MVP award at the running back position, mainly because, like I said, my guy that I'm looking at right now is Matthew Stafford, and if a quarterback is on pace to end the year with 40 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions, it'll be very hard not to give him an MVP.
You got to go all the way back to the 13th best odds, I guess, longest odds for a non-quarterback would be 13th in line, and that would be Jackson Smith and Jigba. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting stuff.
You're in company with JSN. You're doing something right.
And that guy's having a beast of a year, isn't he? All right, so it'll be Kansas City Chiefs a week from Sunday. You enjoy your sleeping in, Mark. You don't have to worry about an exciting game.
I'm going to be up. My kids are going to wake me up.
What time
are you sleeping in for?
What time they get you up?
Oh, God, when the clocks change back, they're up at 6 a.m. I'm like, what are we doing here?
Jumping on the bed?
Oh, my God. I'm like, I need a padlock or something.
So what you're saying is all these early mornings for radio doesn't prepare you for moments like that still?
No, not Fridays and Saturdays are the days to sleep in.
Gotcha.
No. When the clocks went back, they were like, they didn't know. They had no idea.
Nah,
like, what do you mean?
Not kids.
It's just really dark outside. I'm like, yeah, because it's still nighttime.
Did they get to see the Aurora Borealis last night? Did you show them
The
that?
oldest did. The other two were already sleeping.
All right.
So they were sleeping.
I am also against moving the clocks back. I will say that.
It's ridiculous.
I think that getting dark at 5 is crazy.
I'll tell you.
I digress.
I talk about digressing, though. You know who doesn't care about the time change? Dogs. When it's time for them to eat, they're getting up and they're
fair.
like, man, let's go.
Yeah, well,
They're on a clock.
do your parently duties.
Dogs and kids.
That's right.
They're about the same.
All
Did
right,
you guys see the NFL news that is coming across the wire here?
I was
did
gonna
not
get to it,
check
but
my
you
phone.
go.
The Giants
Oh, I did see this.
expected to start none other than Jameis Winston against the Packers. I would hammer the Pack. The Giants are getting 1 million points on Sunday. Jameis Winston's going to lead them to a W.
I feel like
I
he can
know.
definitely
I'm just praying for the Lord to deliver me from pick sixes.
Oh, he will. Don't worry. Hang in there, Jameis. You got
He
it.
is probably one of the funniest characters in NFL history. But to your point, I think he's kind of like Joe Flacco, where if you just give him an opportunity to air it out, it could be very good or very bad. Like, he might throw 3 touchdown passes and 3 picks in the same game.
I'm all locked in now. Like Giants-Packers, I was thinking the Packers were going to roll. Now I'm like, no.
So from what I understand, he's QB2. He's only going to start because Jackson Dart is in concussion protocol. But then that would make Russell Wilson QB3, right?
Yeah. Russ
Boy.
did not look very good against the Bears.
What Russ is looking, it's time for Russ to go do something else, man.
That's a W. That's E1.
Yeah, let's roll.
You've been queuing all those up for 15 minutes now.
I saw
haven't
that
you?
news and I started salivating. I'm like, let's go. Come on, Giants.
All right, back to the check down here. The Indiana Pacers losing in Utah last night, 152 to 128. They got out to a 20-10 lead. And then it just all went away. Lauri Markkanen had 35 points, and Utah was shooting the lights out, shooting their minds out, and they end up winning by 24. Pacers were led by Pascal Siakam with 27. Andrew Nembhard had 25. Isaiah Jackson, 12 points, 10 rebounds. But burying the lead again, T.J. McConnell returns to the lineup. He had 12 points in 11 minutes in his little spark plug self, but Rick Carlisle carefully monitoring his minutes in his first game back.
Yes, and that makes sense. You don't want to overdo it, especially when you're not really pushing for something. It made a lot of sense, clearly, to play Tyrese Halliburton in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. But for a guy just coming back from a hamstring injury in, Game 11 of the year, you want to be smart with that. But you're just hoping that at some point you can get a win to get that off your back, that weight off your back of, trying to figure out how do we navigate such a new season that feels so different than it was, because it is.
The bet's already been placed. The Giants are 7-point dogs against Packers. The bet has been placed.
All right. There you go.
They're going down.
Also last night, college basketball, Butler at home at Hinkle Fieldhouse, beating Chicago State 98-66. Finley Bizjack had 22.6 assists. Michael Ajayi had 10 points and 11 rebounds, and they were shooting the ball well last night too. 17 of 36 from three-point range. They were getting that. They were running and gunning last night too. So they will play again this weekend in Texas against Southern Methodist University. Tonight in college basketball, Milwaukee will play at Indiana. That one starts at 7 p.m. Pregame starts at 6:30 over on 93.1 FM WIBC. And then tomorrow, the Boilermakers play a top 10 matchup on the road at Alabama, number 2 against number 8. That is must-see TV right there, James Boyd.
Absolutely. I will be locked in. It is the bye week for the Colts. I have some work to do, but none of that work will be happening during those games.
All right, some other national news. The Dallas Mavericks have fired general manager Nico Harrison less than a year after he traded Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers. I'll give it up to the Dallas Maverick fans. They were unrelenting. From the day that trade happened till just right the game that he got fired, they were protesting outside the arena, and every night in a home game, there was a chant to fire Nico. The fans got it done.
Yeah, and the fans need to stick with it and try to fire their owner as well. I feel like any owner that signs off on that deal deserves a lot of blame. And I'm joking, a little tongue-in-cheek there. You can't fire owners, otherwise everyone in Chicago will be gone, Mark. But just looking at
you'd have been gone 2 decades ago.
I know, but Dallas Mavericks Governor Patrick DeMont, you are not blameless here. You had to sign off on that, and some of the comments he made after that trade happened made it very clear that he was on board with that decision too.
A couple of other NFL notes. Jaguars two-way rookie Travis Hunter has knee surgery. His season over. It's the LCL, not the ACL or the PCL, the LCL.
Whatever it is, I just know it isn't good. So, wishing him a speedy recovery, but he's going to miss the rest of the year, which from a competitive standpoint only, I'm not saying it as a personal standpoint, but in football, when injuries do happen to key players, it does usually help the other team. So the Colts get kind of a break there, not having to face one of the top rookies in this year's class.
All right, Desante Samuel Jr. has signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers to bolster their secondary. And let's also tell you that the Eagles' Jair Alexander stepped away from the team. He is mulling retirement.
Honestly, I know people can make fun of it, but I do think there is a big emphasis on identity when it comes to playing sports, and when that conversation creeps in your head of what do I do next, I think it's a hard one to have. So you should be very serious about that, because you don't want to play football if you're not all in it with your heart, mind, and body. But even if you do eventually walk away from it, at least in this case seems like he'll be doing it on his own terms.
All right, a couple of college basketball games of note last night too. Louisville over Kentucky 96-88, and James, the Fighting Illini, got an 81-77 win over Texas Tech last night.
This is actually a pretty good game.
Did you watch some of that?
I did not watch a second of it, to be honest with you. I thought about it, but I was like,
sleep at that point.
Yeah, I decided to get some rest and try to bounce back. But I felt pretty good. The jet lag, I don't feel it right now. Maybe I'll feel it later, but it feels like any other morning.
How about Caitlyn Clark back in action? You guys seeing she's teed off now at Anika for the LPGA?
Yeah, and from what I understand, like, she doesn't do any like formal interviews or nothing like that, because I'm sure there will be somebody there that'd be like, hey, wait a second, how's the ankle? How are you doing? Are you playing 5-on-5 basketball again? So hopefully she doesn't have to deal with any of that, even though I would be the guy asking that same question if I was there. But it's good to have her, get away from sort of the throes of a bad season. injury-wise and get back to having some joy out there from a competitive standpoint.
Like I saw that someone said, "What's your fit check? What are you wearing?" She's like, "I'm wearing clothes." So it's a funny take. Caitlyn Clark answer, like, "What do you want from me? I don't know."
She's got some pretty dry humor, and I think it's increased since the stardom has kind of happened. And I've learned, and she's kind of like Rick. You got to come with it with the questions, otherwise she will dunk on you.
One of the things I've noticed just in little viral video clips or just observing in pregame when I've watched the team around each other, the couple of practices I've been to, what I like about we forget that these are young women sometimes. A lot of them under the age of 25, 20, 21, 23, 25, that age. They're not, when they're just by themselves, they're just kind of goofy kids together. It's fun to watch. You forget that sometimes.
Well, yeah, I would say, honestly, that's the case with every team, though. I would even argue that the NFL is like that. The NBA is like that. When they're having a great time and they're together, and it's not necessarily like I have to sit down for this formal interview and James Boyd's going to ask me all these hard questions about the team, whatever. And not saying every question I ask or anybody else asks is hard, but yeah, I do think there's moments where they get kind of lost in it and you remember that it's all a game.
All right. Coming up in a moment, a little more college basketball talk as we continue, and we'll also get to your thoughts on the fan text line, 239-1070, straight ahead. Got a little basketball tonight down in Bloomington. It's going to be fun to watch. I kind of like the style that DeVries is bringing with all the new players and certainly his son getting up and down the floor quickly, shooting threes. They're going to be, I don't know how good they're going to be, James, but they're going to be entertaining to watch, at least what I've seen so far these first couple of games.
Absolutely. I would certainly agree there. And I also think that I trust Darren DeVries already because his son is actually good. Most college coaches and their sons, you're on the team, but you're not getting buckets. His son can get out. For real. I want to say he was player of the year in the MVC a couple of years, and then going from Drake to West Virginia, had the injury last year, and looks to be healthy this year.
We had a guy here who was a coach's son, too, pretty good, Doug McDermott, Creighton. He could play a little bit.
And that was another one, yes. He could get buckets.
You're not yelling like, get this scrub off the team.
Yeah, every night I'm like, oh, this that daddy ball again. Here we go, man.
So that'll be coming your way later on tonight. You'll be able to listen to it on our sister station, WIBC 93.1 FM. Looking forward to that. And then I honestly can't wait. I'm looking forward getting my popcorn ready for Purdue, Alabama tomorrow night. So some good college basketball coming our way this week. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll see how that goes. Meanwhile, quick question on the WFNZ. Thank you very much. Give me the buzzer, Mark, right there.
I'm going to.
93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Quick question here on the text line there. Crypto Jedi wants to know, when we're back talking about the Colts, should we be concerned about the batted down passes? Seems like that's happening to Jones at a high clip, or is that just something to attribute to the line being off lately, or what's going on there, James?
Were there a lot of bad passes in Atlanta?
I don't remember a ton of them. Do you remember a ton of them,
Or not in
Mark?
Atlanta, but versus Atlanta? I remember that being a bigger issue against the Steelers. But again, I have to go back and watch it. I'll apologize. I would hate to speak out of turn here and say, oh, this is the exact issue. I haven't watched much of anything since getting back to America, but I plan on
your eyelids closed.
Yeah, but I plan on trying to get back on track here the next couple of days.
James Boyd stars in Coming to America.
Yeah, something like that. Shout out to is that Eddie Murphy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that was a classic.
Tyler from Washington State here, and he says, got kind of a long question for you guys. Being a Colts fan in the Seattle area, I get the chance to see the Colts in my area maybe once every 4 years in person. Usually, I'm looking getting visitor sideline field tickets for the Colts Seahawks. However, I've never been to a sporting event in person where the team I was rooting for won. My high school was 0-30 when I attended games. Lost all 3 of the Sonics games I went to as a kid. I've never seen the Mariners win in person, including both games lost at home during the Blue Jays series. And the one time I bought tickets to fly to Indy for the Colts, Andrew Luck retires a week later and we lose to the Dolphins. Do I just stay home or risk going to the game? I asked KB on his pod, but after the last 2 weeks, I'm extra scared about going and possibly bringing bad juju when they play the Seahawks later this year. I'd say stay home and watch this on TV is what I would say.
I'm saying go, because at this point, the Colts are different, man. They won the season opener for the first time since 2013. They were 2-0 for the first time since 2009. They're off to a fantastic start. They got a quarterback, traded for Sauce Gardner. Everything that you think is not possible right now for the Colts is. So I think it's possible for you to go and witness a win in person. And then the other point I want to make is your high school team going 0-30 when you that is not on you, brother. They had scrubs out there. They had future, corporate workers. They had no athletes on that team. Going 0-30 is outrageous. I was on a bad basketball team my senior year of high school. I still think we won like 5 or 6 games. You cannot go 0-4 in a basketball season. Assuming this is what he's talking about. He's talking about football, and that's 0-30 over the 4 years. Nevertheless, that ain't your fault. So I'll give you a pass there, and all the other ones, it's water under the bridge. These are the new Colts, man. All that voodoo stuff don't work on them. Otherwise, it would have worked in Berlin when they needed JT not to be superhuman, and he was.
Mark, do you remember a movie with William H. Macy about 15 years ago called The Cooler?
I have heard of it. I don't think I've ever seen it, though.
So he worked at a casino, and his entire job, he was a walking black cloud. Every time he sat down at a table, everybody at the table lost and the casino made money. So the casino hired him to just every time somebody was on a roll, go sit down next to that guy at the table.
Oh, boy.
Sounds like we might have a cooler here.
Well, James just went full Kevin Garnett there he said anything's possible with the...
Anything's possible!
Anything's possible! Anything's possible!
And then my favorite part about that clip is you have to cut it right there, because as soon as you keep playing it, he starts cursing and shouting at all these people back home that might be affiliated with other things. And I'm like, yeah, you can't repeat that on the air. But shout out to KG, man. Anything's possible for these Indianapolis Colts right now.
I love Kevin Garnett back in the day. God, I love that guy.
And look, if you want to go to a game, Tyler, go to a game. You got to always take advantage of the experiences life gives you, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, look. Take it for somebody who's been to many games. I've seen a lot of stupid things happen. I saw the Colts blow his biggest lead in NFL history, and a couple years later, they're now number 1 seed in the AFC. So things can change, brother.
You never know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
You might see a stinker, you might see an all-time great.
Yeah, you got to trust in the new owner, Carla Gordon. She ain't messing around, and the rest of the crew. Daniel Jones, we know as far as bye weeks go, he will not go anywhere. He's probably at the facility right now watching tape, knowing how obsessive he is. So, in all seriousness, go and enjoy the game, man. And if you see me out there, my first time in Seattle myself, so say what's up.
Hey, if the game stinks, start the beer snake. Get that going in the crowd. People love it. People go nuts for the beer
I'm not going to lie.
Speaking of beer, did you see Carly Gordon buying around for all the Colts fans?
Yeah, that was cool, man. From what I understand, and that's one thing I did regret missing, and it's because of the travel. I didn't get a chance to really go over to a lot of the fan stuff before the game. I did see some of that stuff afterwards, some like remnants of NFL, signage and things like that. But a lot of the Colts fans that I did interact with at the game were telling me that they had a good time getting to know Caitlyn, Carly, interacting with them, getting selfies, autographs, beer, whatever the case may be. So they were very well received over there, and rightfully so, because who'll be mad at ownership right now, considering they have the best record in the NFL?
I like the fact too. She's telling people if the fire is burning, throw some gas on it. Let's go. Get that kerosene on it.
Yeah, that was a nice little anecdote there from Stacy Dales.
Yeah. How about this one from Dan, who says, IU may have hit it out of the park, man. SIG for football and Double D for the basketball program. Phenomenal selections. Also, while I'm on this, Kevin being out made me realize how much I enjoy the show with Kevin and his coverages. Him and bringing James Boyd home may be the best choice this 107.5 program has done. How about that?
Well, yeah, anytime you bring me aboard for any project, it's going to be the best thing you ever did. I tell my parents every time I look at them, hey, I'm the best thing that happened in your entire life, okay? And I'll tell them this weekend if I see them.
I'm going to take credit for this one, too, because I hired Mark, too.
There you go. But no, thanks for listening. I certainly think it's a privilege to be on these airwaves pretty much every day, and we're looking forward to having KB back when he is taking a temporary absence from daddy duty, because that's year round and clock round as well. But yeah, man, it's been fun. And I think over the last year, we've had a lot of opportunities to cover some crazy highs, some unique types of lows. I mean, the day of one of the most iconic games in Pacers basketball history in the playoffs was the same day that Jim Irsay passed away. And we had to kind of thread that needle there too. So it's been a wild ride this year, but one that continues to give. And I think for the Colts purposes, it could get even wilder in a good way for this team. So I'm a little concerned, like I said, about the offensive line and some of the turnovers, but as I wrote my story after leaving Berlin, I can't really point the finger at anybody on the Colts and say you didn't do enough. I think that it gets to a point, Jeff, where we they've gotten so good that we have to criticize everything, and I kind of forget a little bit myself. Like, wait a second, they're still 8-2, which is pretty ridiculous.
They're getting it done in the win and loss column. They're getting it done in point spread as far as the point differential in the NFL. They're getting it done in the conference record. I mean, there's not a lot to be unhappy with other than you want perfection. I guess at some point, as I always say, Mark, you always want a little bit more than you're ever going to get.
There you go.
That's how that works. All right, coming up in a moment, we'll get a couple of other texts off before the end of the show, get some final thoughts, see what these guys are up to on their evening. James probably just going to catch up on sleep, but we'll find out if he's got anything else on his mind. We'll do it next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Wednesday. Kevin Bowen hopefully be back tomorrow. I got to turn on my microphone. Help me out there, Mark. I was going right down the road.
Dang,
I've been doing this long enough. You know what the
Play
red
the
light
music
does?
and control his mic.
Red light on.
I was just going to say, looking forward to seeing Kevin tomorrow, hopefully. He'll be back from paternity leave. Welcoming in he and Maddie's third child, Nellie. That was kind of exciting. You were out of the country for that whole thing.
Yeah, but again, I told him, if you need Uncle JB, holla at your boy.
You'll have her driving pretty quickly here, too.
Yeah, I mean, me and Nelly, we going to lock in. We going to get it done. We're going to have to do what we got to do, man.
He also needed the kid because Max is getting older. So if he's going to keep doing the Colts picks, he's like, well, I need a, like the YouTube families.
No.
You got to add the kids
See,
up.
I am vehemently against this. I need Max Bowen doing these picks so he moves out of that house. So until you're 18, Max, okay? And I need chompers. I need 16-year-old, 17 or 18-year-old Max Bowen with chompers picking up, little mini helmets until he leaves. Yes.
Max going through like puberty and everything. Like,
Yep.
Dad, I don't want to do this anymore.
I want to see the voice change and everything. No, that is tradition. We can't abandon. No, I do not agree to this at all. Of course, it's my choice.
T writes us and says, "Good morning, guys. Listen, this team reminds me of the team that beat Kansas City in the playoffs when Captain Comeback just let her rip, and the spread on that game was KC -11, and you all know the Colts not only covered but won that game. Take the Colts and the points when they play in Kansas City."
Oh, boy. That is some bold talk there. Was that the game that Andrew Luck fumbled and he picked it up and ran it in? I'm trying to think.
I was at that game. That was at Lucas Oil.
Because I can't remember Captain Comeback. Oh, he means
he's Harbaugh, I think,
Harbaugh
right?
days. Oh, this is way before my time.
Michael the electrician says, look, Face Off is not good, but it's not the worst movie. It's not on the Titanic level of horrible movie.
You don't need Oscar worthy all the time. Sometimes a movie's so bad it's good, and that is the case of Face Off. It's so corny. It's so 90s.
I agree with this take.
Nicolas Cage is on 1,000 with the facial expressions and insanity. That's all you need. I don't need Oscar winners. Give me some entertainment.
I'm not going to lie. Sometimes when we watch those shows and they give out the awards for the movies, half of them I don't know. And I'm
there's more and more these days.
I missed this.
This is Dark Knight and everything, and they're like, this is a biopic of Katharine Hepburn, and it's Meryl Streep. I didn't see that movie.
I know.
I don't know what that one's about.
And I lie to myself. I'm going to watch that, and I never get around to it.
Avid female listener does not want the Seattle fan who's never attended a game in which his team has won ever in his life to stay. She wants him to stay away from the Colts game.
You got to break the streak at some point.
Yeah, man. What kind of fan are you?
Are we all in or are we all out? I thought we were all chips in here.
She's like, don't put your chips in.
She also says she says the voodoo may not work, but stay home, all caps. Signed an avid female listener.
We don't believe in voodoo
anymore.
We got Daniel Jones running quarterback. We got JT in the backfield. We got Alec Pierce. Right. We got Sauce now. We don't need voodoo.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's where I'm at. But in all seriousness, I do think that the bye week came at a perfect time for the Colts. Your offense, which has been great so far, you're having a little bit of issues up front. Quarterback play, you get a chance to reset. And with those two brains getting back to the drawing board and Shane Steichen and Daniel Jones, I do expect them to find some solutions there. And then the offensive line, Tony Sparano Jr., you get a chance to kind of reassess some things and figure out, okay, where do we go from here? But overall, being 8-2, like I said, you reset at quarterback with your offensive line and get that cleaned up. You get a little bit healthier. Perhaps you get Travarius Mooney-Ward back after the bye. I know DeForest Buckner will still be out, but this, to me, is about as good of a bye week as you can ask for, considering where your team is and then how healthy you want to be for that home stretch. Because in my mind, with DeForest Buckner in particular, we can get into this throughout the rest of the week, I think that at this point, with the neck injury, him being on IR, not being ruled out for the year, you just want to get him back for the playoffs at this point. So, hey, if you lose a game or whatever down the stretch because you should have had your guy, don't matter. If you finish with one more loss and probably you should have had, whatever, you want that guy ready to go when it's do or die, want to go home.
Do we know exactly what and how that happened?
No. Unfortunately, we do not. Followed up with Shane on Monday, and he just said that, yes, initially there were no injuries coming out of the Pittsburgh game, but I guess Buckner came in with some neck pain and then got further testing, and now he's on IR. So the hope is that he'll return, but we don't even have a time limit table for his return. But my whole thing is he's eligible technically to return, I believe, in Week 15 against the Seattle Seahawks. But again, if you want to hold him out and say, hey, we just need you to be ready to go come Week 1 of the postseason, I'm good with that.
And you tell that Colts fan to attend the game. We're breaking streaks this year.
Yes, exactly.
We're
going streaking.
Week 1 streak over. We're gonna beat Jacksonville at Jacksonville.
There you go.
The streaks are over. We're 8-2, baby.
There you go.
We're breaking
Drink the
streaks this
Kool-Aid.
year. Go out there. Go get a win.
I like it. James, good to have you back from Berlin, man. What was your, quickly, again, favorite meal when you were over there? What was the best thing you had?
Besides my chicken wings, like I said, I think it was called a doner kebab. Yes, a doner kebab out there in Berlin was really good.
All right, like that. Mark, great job all week this week. Hopefully we'll have the whole band back together tomorrow. Also want to give a shout-out to my mom. She's been going through some stuff up at the hospital. Hope she's going to be feeling better. I'm going to go see her again. But I want to thank you guys for helping me out the last week or so while I've been tending to her. So
holding the fort down.
Everybody have a great day.
Taking jobs.
Yeah, there we go. We, of course, have Jake coming your way from noon to 3 today. Looking forward to that. And then JMV, as always, from 3 to 6. It's going to be a great day. Sports all day long right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Enjoy the rest of your